All right, so this is the, Roosevelt Island Operating Corporation Governance Committee meeting. And so I'm gonna call it to order, here it is at 5:04. So, and here we have present, in the room, we have present myself, I'm Lydia Conley, Chair. And we have Conway, Expo, who's also on the committee. I'm thinking that,
You should do the board members first.
yeah, I'm thinking that, is Megan here? I don't see Megan. Megan, are you here?
Maybe there's someone else from here too.
I know that Morris is here. So Morris is here. He's also a board member, but he's online. I'm hoping that Megan is here online as well. I was expecting Megan to be here online. We, so for the representing, the staff, we have, Drew Amin, who is the CEO. We have, Kim Payne, who's acting COO. We have Lada, who's, assistant, not deputy? Yes, okay.
No.
General counsel.
No.
Associate general counsel? No.
Associate counsel.
Associate counsel.
I'll take the promotion.
Okay, and also here are Margie Smith and Audrey Cannon, and let's see, we have, who else? Oh, Ada is here, online, so thank you for coming, Ada. And so we know David Kraut is here. I'm hoping, David Kraut and Morris are here. I'm hoping that Megan will be here as well. But we do have a quorum, and, welcome, Rick. We have press here, and everyone else. Thank you for coming, the general public. So, let's see, on the agenda, do we have an agenda here? The first thing I wanted to do is the bylaws.
I have one right here.
Fantastic. So review of the bylaws and any other committee business. Okay, so first we want to do, status review on the, bylaws. I had asked all the board members to, submit input from, the red line version of the bylaws that we had sent out to all the board members. And, prior to yesterday, I received input from, Mars, and I also received input from Faye, and I hear that David sent input today.
Yes.
So I didn't get it, I haven't read David's input, but, I am being told that some of the input from, Morris, David, and Faye, might be contradictory. So what we need to do is we need to read through them and see what we, and talk about them and see what, as a committee, we agree on, okay? So, and in the meanwhile, Conway will be Conway, you didn't give any feedback because you're not part of the process.
I have not.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so, everybody who's here was part of the process, except for maybe Mary, who wasn't here a couple of times, but most of the time you were here. So right now, what I want to do is I just want to read through Morris's feedback, Faye's feedback, and David's feedback in that order. Because, that's the order I received them in, all right?
And while we're doing that, do you want to use which red line version do you want to use?
Yours.
Because there are two. There's one compared to 2010. There's one compared to 2010, and there's one compared to September 6th of this year.
I think we need to work on the one, it actually doesn't matter because we can still compare this to 2010. If it's easier to work from the 2024 version.
It'll probably be easy to work from that
Yes,
one.
so it will be less
So let's do
confusing.
that. Whatever's easier for you, let's do.
Yeah,
And
okay.
we can always back it out. Good.
And
All right,
then
and so
David
Faye
will
Christian
compare
is
it to
Walton
2010
representing
again,
the
right?
board.
Is that the one we have here? that we're
Yeah,
using?
this
This is the one we're gonna
is
use.
224, yes.
Okay.
This is the one that we're using. So if you have an extra copy of everything, if you could let Faye have a copy. So first, we're going to, go over Morris's, feedback, and everybody who's on the board has seen this before, so, yeah.
Just before we start, we have members of the board present here, Ms. Christian and also Mr. Kraus and Mr. Peters. For purposes of this committee, it's only committee members who can participate. Other board members can observe,
Correct.
but not participate. Otherwise, it would make it a board meeting.
Yes, exactly. So if they have something to say, they can ask to be recognized, and I can call on them to be recognized, but they will not be participating in the decision. Okay? Is that,
Technically, we should only have not more than 5 board members present together, because it would constitute a quorum of the entire board, and it will be considered a board of directors meeting. That's why I'm
is that
cautious
considered-
about this. No, please, you can sit, but just not,
stay
yeah.
and listen. but-
Yes.
Oh, I know, I mean,
Yeah, anyway, but you provide a comment, because I'm afraid with the number of board members present, it extends to the board meeting rather
Okay.
than committee.
So I know that, I guess, the people that are online, from my understanding, do not count because they're online. The people that count are the people in this room.
Yeah, I think
That's
they count
my
online
understanding.
now.
No.
If they count, doesn't Kraus count online when he's at a board meeting?
Mr. Kraut, yes, for the purposes of the board meeting, he is
Right.
counted towards the
But
quorum.
not if it's
under-
a committee meeting?
Not if-
Yeah, but for the committee meeting, so here in this room, we have, how many, 3 board members present?
Mhm.
Right, yeah.
And that's
Yeah, that's
not a quorum.
But we're not counting the online people.
Mm-mm.
right, they are just observing.
Okay? All right. All right, so, we're going to, and I'll just read out loud to people who don't have it, who are, listening online. I'm not gonna read the preamble, but I'll just read, his, starting from Article 2, Section 1.
Mhm.
These elected officials may send a delegate to sit at the table in any committee or board meeting as non-voting participants, quote unquote. And his response was, "This is a substantive change that I have logistical and other questions about. More importantly, my read of the law, and again, I am not an attorney, suggests that this change might conflict with the 2799 quadruple C of the Public Authorities Law, which lays out specific instances where designees are authorized. I suggest that an outside counsel opine on this issue, but it does not seem to me that our enabling statute allows for other designees. When this issue came up earlier in the context of a committee meeting, I recall the AGO making clear that designees that are not specifically named are not authorized." So the question is, and I'm gonna ask you, Lotta, do you think this is in conflict of public authorities law?
I do, actually. That's what, it was my original comment regarding, from all the changes to the bylaws, that was the section that kind of concerned me the most. And that's why I thought that needs to be reviewed by outside counsel. I think I wrote it at the very beginning, we just started the bylaws
Okay.
revision.
So,
So I just wanted, yeah.
go ahead.
So I share Mr. Peters' concern.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the reason it's in is because I was looking at, now I'm not sure exactly where, so I have to look at the Model Governance Committee charter of the ABO.
Mhm.
And that's why we put it in, because in there somewhere, I have to look at it to find it. Sorry, I'm a little unprepared. Apologies.
Lydia, while you're looking,
Yes.
can I just say that as a non-voting committee member, I don't have I don't have any strong feeling, I'm not a board member, but I do work with Senator Krueger, and that's why I'm here on this committee. And we did, before I sat on this, I checked with Jeff Perlman, who is the outgoing chair of ABO. I think he probably wrote the template for those bylaws. He's now a judge, an administrative judge that would handle issues like this. And he absolutely said, and I think I shared it with you at the time, Lydia, that the board by resolution or by something in the bylaws can actually allow for this to happen. That was his opinion. And so I want you to know that before I even thought to sit on this, after Lydia approached me, we did check with ABO at the time.
Yes, I'm aware, perfectly aware of this, but I'm sure.
Yeah, there's always
So
room for
actually,
interpretation.
there
All of us
was
interpret.
no technical resolution by the board, first of all.
I think, Lydia, didn't you get one?
No, there was
No,
no
we didn't.
resolution.
We
There was
didn't
no
do a
formal,
resolution. We
actually,
just-
appointment. It's still in this,
Yeah.
in informal way. This is first. And second, the advice, if I recall this, I do have this email from former director of ABO where he suggests to check the enabling legislation, if I'm not mistaken.
So-
Because I remember seeing this.
I
We need to
get
look at
that
enabling.
legislation, no,
Yes, there is no such thing as a non-voting participant. There's nowhere in enabling legislation that even foresee this option. That's my major concern, because all the board members are appointed by governor of New York with advice and consent of the New York State Senate. And they underwent, all of you underwent like strict vetting. You have to submit conflict of interest forms, if any. We don't do this for non-voting participants. So in case of conflict of interest or some ethical issue, there is nothing from non-voting members or non-voting participants that we will seek. So the fact that the board members, who are also residents of Roosevelt Island, all of you are, like, all public members are residents already, and you are all vetted. So again, that's my only concern here, this particular section. With everything else, I don't think I have any issues. But this section that I would really want input from outside counsel.
Yeah, I think we should get that, but I guess my question would be, what was the intent of that sentence then? The elected public officials who represent Roosevelt Island shall be representatives to the board of
That's
corporation,
right.
entitled to receive notice and attend all meetings of such boards, but not be entitled to vote. That's no different from any member of the public. So why would they
Yes,
specifically?
exactly, that's not,
But
in
I'm
terms
saying,
of.
why would they specifically mention the elected officials who should
Because
attend?
because with respect to elected officials, they need to be aware what's happening with the constituents, and it's in other enabling, in other bylaws of other authorities.
They would be aware just because they're members of the public would
Yeah, that,
already be making the voice. So I guess I don't see
they're
the
only
point of putting
aware
that
of
sentence.
the notice and agenda. They're not getting board materials, they're just like, and they're not participating. In the past, we would have representatives from elected officials sitting in the audience as members of public, taking notes. If they want to speak, they're invited to speak, but they were not made permanent non-voting. But I have an issue with this non-voting participant definition for it. It's not even defined anywhere.
In every committee, there are only board members participating.
Only board members, and the same with.
I mean, I don't know if that's good or
With the-
bad. I'm
with
not
Battery
offering an
Park
opinion on
City.
it.
With the Battery Park City, it's the same. If you look at
That's
their
fine.
enabling legislation and their composition, they also have the audit committee, and they have 3 members on the audit committee, and all of them are board members. There's no non-voting participants on the board of public authorities.
Yes, I understand.
That's-
I will tell you, long ago, a DHCR commissioner, and I really don't have a strong, and I'm not on the board, I don't have a strong opinion. Resources are good, I do believe that, whoever
Yeah.
they might be. But I always remember DHCR Myron Holtz, the late great Myron Holtz, who knew a lot about Mitchell-Lama, said, you know, when a law doesn't say you can't do it, it means you can.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but
I'm just-
okay, this is the
But it's all for you all to,
Yes, we have enabling legislation, and our enabling legislation, it was a separate act, the laws of 1984, and the laws of New York, but now it's a Title 35 of Public Authorities Law. We're part of a bigger law, that's a separate title for us, just like for the Battery Park City Authority. So whatever is written in Title 35 we need to we cannot put anything that would contradict or extend or expand the powers of the corporations or directors that's not foreseen in the enabling legislation. So,
Can I just read the email that I got from Jeff? This was back in June, when Lydia first asked me, and I'm glad to share it with the entire committee or board. This is not binding advice, he did say that, but here are my thoughts. It's up to the board, not the inviting member. At that time, Lydia was just going to invite me, and I said I want to check before I come, who can participate as non-voting members. If that's what they want, it should be memorialized in bylaws or a resolution so the public is aware.
yeah, I cannot agree with this more, yes.
I didn't,
Yeah,
about the enact.
this is my attempt to put it in the bylaw.
Right, but the bylaws, and that's why it's not binding advice, I'm sure he did not check REAC bylaws to verify what's written in our bylaws.
But she's updating the bylaws.
But the bylaws cannot contradict the enabling legislation.
But it doesn't.
But it doesn't, is what he's
I
familiar
respectfully
with.
disagree with it, and that's why I
That's
suggest,
fine, so there's a disagreement and law is interpreted, right, Conway? So,
and that's
I just
why,
made a comment, just noting the concern.
and also, the fact that, my position, even with making these changes, I just want to say this up front, won't change in terms of that my recommendation would be to run it by outside counsel specializing in corporate governance. Battery Park City and other authorities, they do have the full legal department, including general counsel and the entire team, and they still outsource the bylaws revisions to outside counsel specializing in corporate governance. It's a good practice because it's the major document for the corporation after the bylaw, after the enabling legislation. So it's not because we don't we have not enough staff here, legal department. It's a good practice even for authorities where they have the entire full legal team, and they still outsource the bylaws revisions to the firm, and especially to the firm that originally drafted this, and we can also do this.
of course, and
So, but
I
again,
just want it understood that before we even considered this, we reached out
Right.
to an authority and to an expert and a legal opinion too, that Lydia wasn't, doing without
Yeah,
getting that
I knew
proper
that.
advice too.
Yeah, I was not, experienced in governance, and so I wanted to dot my i's and cross my t's and make sure that some higher authorities than myself.
Okay, so on this, there's a disagreement on the interpretation, and we have to figure out how we're gonna resolve that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Made a note summarizing that.
Okay, all right, moving on. Section 8 of Article 2, this section regarding resignations is new. I would argue it's unnecessary on two grounds. First, as we've recently seen, resignations may occur without a proposed change. Second, and again, I'm not an attorney, but this language appears to be inconsistent with Section 31 of Public Officer Laws, which provides the process for resignation of public officers. Section 31 applies to, among others, all officers appointed by the governor alone, by him with the consent of the state, to the governor. So this includes REAC board members, and it lays out specific steps. I suggest that outside counsel take a look here too. So this is resignations, and I thought, maybe I was wrong, that, the bylaws already had, well, do the bylaws address resignations for board members? I'm sorry, I forget.
Let's look.
Where are we? Article 2, Section 8. Article 2,
It looks totally new, but I could swear I read something where they said you have to write a letter and tell them you're resigning.
It is new.
it is a new.
Yeah, the whole, everything,
that's the entire new section.
half
yes.
section 7.
Resignation was not here before.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just to clarify the process of resignation, because
Yeah, I think it's, if it's, additional information, I don't think it's incorrect information. I think the more information, the better. I don't know. What do you think?
I think we
I think that what's crucial is appointment and removal, and not so much resignation. It just it's a normal, business practice to sign the resignation letters.
Well, I mean, the last time, the, Conway had brought up that when Mike Shimazaki resigned from the board, that it wasn't sent to the governor or something like that, right? And
Yeah, there was some internal miscommunication about that.
yeah, so this is just to straighten out what the process is, so there isn't a miscommunication. So then if it's sent to the
The
chairperson, the chairperson will facilitate that process. Is that agreeable? Megan, are you there?
Yeah, Megan's on the phone.
Megan?
I'm here.
Okay, great. So the question I have is the section 8 of, what's it? Section 8 of Article 2 about resignation, any member of the Board of Directors may resign upon written notice to the chairperson. The chairperson will warn in writing board member after missing 3 consecutive board meetings, the chairperson shall notify the governor in these occurrences. Is that acceptable to you?
I mean, I haven't liked that section and how it was written from the beginning. I thought the intention wasn't clearly stated in the first draft, especially the part about warning the board member. I mean, if we just want to establish that if someone wants to resign and they do it in writing in accordance with an existing statute for public officers law, I think that's fine.
So what do you think it should say? Megan?
I think it should go back, revert to what was in there before. Didn't it just say that they would resign in writing?
We didn't have anything on it before.
We didn't have anything before.
Yeah, the concern was that Mike Shizaki resigned and he didn't send it to the governor, and so that there was a snap to it. So we're hoping to clarify this so that any board resignation to the chair of the board would then trigger the notification to the governor. And I'm asking, is that okay with you?
Right, so the seat doesn't sit empty.
Yeah, so the seat doesn't sit empty for longer than it needs to sit empty.
Yeah, I don't think the wording is right, but I think the point we're trying to make is
I don't-
right. You could just not resignation. I think I sent mine to Susan Rosenthal. I don't know what I did with it. I didn't write to the governor for sure. And my seat could have sat empty forever with the governor not even realizing I didn't show up.
Yeah.
So somebody has to take the initiative to say to the governor, hey, this person stopped coming. She thinks she resigned. She may or may not have.
I think with notification purposes, I don't think it's fair to put this on the chair of the board. We have a secretary to the board, and I think it's secretarial function to notify the governor's office, or it's OGS services that send us appointment letter. And we received it in legal department, and I think it's a secretary to the board function to notify OGS of changes in the board about resignation, and not a chairperson of the board, because it's a secretarial function. It's not something major.
Okay.
At what point does the secretary do that? How do they even know?
As soon as
Suppose
they
someone just
receive,
stopped showing up.
notification,
But that's the point. Who receives the notification?
Yeah, I mean, so this might be the point of conflict
Right.
that Morris was talking about, because in the statute, it just says the resignation shall be in writing addressed to the body. It doesn't say to the chair of the body. It just says to the body, to REOC. It could be anybody in REOC. I mean, it's pretty vague, but
Right.
there's no one spelled out there. And so
I
we're
think-
spelling out somebody here. So the question is, does that conflict with what the statute says? Because I think the concern that he's pointing out.
So what LADA says is the secretary can do that as part of their job, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Then we'll send it to the secretary, in which case now is you, because we don't have a general counsel.
so we don't have general counsel.
So the general counsel, you would basically be the acting secretary
At this moment.
at this moment. So I have no problem with that. Is that okay?
I don't either, but I do have a problem with if somebody just decides to, the heck with the whole place, I'm just not showing up. You can't force somebody to sign the letter of resignation. at what point does the board say, hey, this person hasn't come to the last 3 meetings or 4 meetings or whatever, they've technically abandoned the spot?
Can we ask the secretary?
Well, that's why we put the 3
Well,
meetings.
actually, the secretary of the board should pay attention who comes to the board meeting.
Right, and,
notify,
and that's
if we see the
my
board member
point.
is not showing up for 3, we can notify chairperson, but we can make it, again, it's ministerial thing, that we can notify chair of the board, paying attention what's happening at the meeting, who is in attendance, and when in 3 consecutive meetings, board meetings, we can notify chair of the board, and
And
this
copy
person
everybody
will
else.
be
The governor's
automatically.
If we can leave that part in,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
But I think we
Change it from-
can leave this section, but I think the wording
Wording
should
has to be
be,
changed a little.
yes.
But just
like-
so we get the point that if the person resigns, they can resign
should
in
be
this
some-
particular way, to the secretary, to whatever.
Right.
If they don't resign, but they've missed 3 meetings, it's up to the secretary or whomever to notify the governor's office that this person has pretty much abandoned the job and we're gonna need a replacement.
Yes, but I also, Mr. Peters suggested we need to look at the section 31st of the Public Offices Law. I didn't get a chance to verify, so I want to verify what's the process. It's important to follow what's written in Public Offices Law, because we need to comply with Public Authorities Law and Public Office Law.
Yeah, did you have COG and ABO look at already?
Yeah, we did.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So prior to, so we had COG look at it first.
Committee on Open Government.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then
okay.
Committee on Open Governance, we had them look at it first. And then we made additional changes, and then we came to ABO.
Okay.
So ABO looked at it, came back with feedback, and I tried to update it prior to last board meeting, but then there were objections. So, Colin, can you just change that chairperson to secretary? In section 8, is that okay for now? 'Cause,
Oh, I see.
yeah. So then we don't have to
Or the
have,
word, not the governor, but maybe governor's appointment office or OGS office appropriate. But again, we need to confirm, I want to verify this Public Offices Law section.
okay. So instead of chair, so all the chairpersons will be replaced with secretary. So the last sentence will be secretary shall notify the proper authorities, not governor, whatever you want, whatever you think is appropriate.
I don't know, maybe appointments or.
Yeah, governor's appointment, yeah,
Governor.
governor,
Because
governor's
we see this
appointment.
No, I wouldn't, I
Yeah.
wouldn't add appointments office in there. That's too specific.
Yes, right.
So it becomes the secretary's responsibility.
We can say secretary shall follow the proper notification purpose, or something like that. Do we need to
Conway,
come
did
up
you
with
get
this
that?
language
Yep.
now, or we just?
So Conway got it, right?
Yes, so we've replaced chair for secretary.
Can we
Mhm.
take out that sentence
just
about will
fine.
warn in writing the board member after missing consecutive board meetings? Or craft something different on what that's gonna say?
I think in the first sentence, resignation, any member of the board of directors may resign upon written notice not to the, in this first sentence should remain to chairperson. The chairperson needs to know about resignation. And then there's like procedural issues are taken
How
from
about
there. by
chairperson
the-
and secretary, so both of you know at the same time?
Yeah, but typically we copied, legally it's copied on communications on resignation notice, or if the chairperson receives resignation, she would forward this job.
Yeah, why just do chairperson and secretary? That way you don't have to wait for the chairperson to forward it to the secretary, just do it all in one fell swoop. And then the person who's resigning will know, copy the chairperson and the secretary.
Yeah, in this day and email,
Yeah,
face it, it's an email is appropriate, right?
it's a select.
You know, add a CC.
Yeah, you got it. It's easy.
I mean, to get,
It's not, we're not licking a stamp and putting on an envelope,
right,
it's not that. Okay, so, all right, the third one. Article 2, Section 9, said, I don't object to this addition. So this is Section 9, communication with public.
oh, wait, I'm
I don't
sorry.
object to this addition, but it would be unnecessary for normal.
Yeah, well, right, I mean,
Well, we're doing-
welcome to our world.
Normally functioning, so okay, so I'm going to continue. Article 3, Section 1, currently, the chair sets the agenda, as is typically the case for efficient and productive work. Having the chair work with staff on agenda ahead of the meeting helps ensure that materials are distributed before the meeting so that board members are adequately prepared for discussion and consideration of the agenda items. I recognize that there has been frustration among some board members about pacing and the perceived inability to get items on the agenda. For normally functioning boards with committee structure, the way that items are added to the board's agenda is by a vote at a committee to recommend an item for board consideration. Now that we have revised dormant committees and refreshed committee assignments, that is how it should happen for us too. I cannot support the proposed changes because they would impair the ability to maintain the order and structure that high-performing boards are built upon. I will also note that clarity offered by existing Article 4, Section 4, which states a chairperson shall preside at the meeting of the director. In addition, the chairperson shall take a lead in the board's oversight role, which includes setting the board's agenda and managing the flow of information to the board, coordinating the work of the board's committee liaisons between the board and senior management. This language, which is unchanged in the draft, is how it should be. Okay.
I agree with Mr. Peters. Whatever he said, 100%.
Mm.
In my opinion, I'm not a.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with, you know, if we were
A functioning.
a functioning
I
board.
know. Use this qualifying words. But you are, you have committees now that
We
are,
now have committees, and now we're,
and is that committee
No.
structure, is that how it works now, that the committees then bring to the full board? This is out of committee, this is what, we're
well,
not,
I mean, for the first over 6 months,
That is-
my being on the board, there were no committees. There was an audit committee that I sat.
Well, there were committees,
There
but
were-
there were no meetings held.
There were no committees. The only committee that was functioning was the audit committee.
Yeah, exactly.
There were no committees held because you need a quorum, and so we had committee, chairs, but no committee members. So you can't hold a meeting with the committee chair and no members.
right.
So we had a very dysfunctional board, and so we changed this because of the dysfunction that was experienced by me until, you know, relatively recently. So, how do we allow for the fact that there have been dysfunctional boards? How do we put
I
governance
understand.
policies in place to allow for the fact that we know that dysfunctional boards occur?
Right, you want the preventive measures in the
Yeah.
bylaws to make sure that it's functioning.
We don't want this board to be dysfunctional anymore.
That's a good public service. Or a public benefit corporation.
So what do? I mean, I agree with Morris. If this
Yes,
were,
yes.
and always have been, a
Can I-
functioning board, that's fine, that's perfect.
Do we address this issue with committees, that committees have to meet, you know, every other month, or that there's some, I don't know if there's some standard?
I don't know that there is.
There is a standard for the committee meetings, it's open meetings law, and open meetings law is a part of public authority law.
I understand, but do they have to meet, like, you know, 6 times
On
a
a regular
year?
basis.
or-
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
outlined in further in the bylaws and in the individual
Okay,
charters
okay,
of the
then,
committees.
Really? Where is it? It's
Yeah, it
outlined in
says-
the bylaws?
The audit committee shall not
Yeah,
meet
further down.
less than
Okay,
4
that's-
times a year or something like
that
that.
then that might address,
4 times a year?
Not
okay.
less than a certain number.
so I think Lydia's point is when it wasn't functioning that way, what
Yes.
safeguard was in place to correct that?
That's my question.
And
What
that's why you
safeguard-
put this in.
What safeguard can we put in place
Mhm.
in the event of a non-functioning board? To prevent it from being a non-functioning.
They were dormant, and you wanted
I
that
want-
not to be able to happen. Again,
Yeah.
historically, that is not unusual.
Or at least in my case, half my, seating on the board was part of that unusual board,
Let me look at that.
non-functioning board experience. So that's the question. What can we do?
That's a good question, an
Any-
important question.
any-
particularly if the agenda percolates up from the committee.
Yeah,
Not necessarily.
But that was one of the things, and Morris was right.
Not
that
the entire agenda.
usually comes about-
No.
But some of it,
It could be, yes, some items can be presented.
Of
can
course,
be
I
presented by the
understand.
committee members,
Of
and of course,
course.
they need to be considered.
of
But
course.
chair or person can also add, the agenda items, and of course, the
Of course, but for,
executives, can add the agenda they want to discuss.
as Morris points out so well, for a functioning board, committees are active and, you know,
yeah,
agendas percolate up from committees.
yeah, because we were also, during the dysfunctional period of time, we had asked, the new board members had asked for specific items be put on the agenda, and they were not. At the discretion of the board chair, and that's, you know, by the bylaws, but we were a dysfunctional board. And so how, the question remains, how do we, by policy, put guardrails so we don't become a dysfunctional board again?
Right. And that's a good, important public service.
So can each chair, this is just a thought, can each chair of the committee assign another committee member in their committee to call a meeting if the chair has not called one or is not capable of doing it for some reason?
Well, okay, so what happened was there were committee chairs as of like November, I'm thinking. And then committee members weren't seated until afterwards. And so, I mean, one of the things about the committees, if you look down below in the committee area, is that it does say that the committee chair can assign one member and the board assigns the others. And so we had a lot of back and forth during our meetings about who has the ability to appoint committee members. And so by the bylaws as is, and I guess it's subject to interpretation, but the way I read it was that the committee chair was allowed to assign one, and then the board assigns the others. So maybe that's a good enough
And you guys.
guardrail? Is that a good enough guardrail to make sure that we have, committees that will be able to percolate up issues? If we as a board can establish committees and the chair can assign one person per committee, that would, if that's well understood enough in the bylaws, then the board will be able to, whether or not the chair decides that it's their responsibility to assign committee members, the board can structure the committees. And should structure the committees. And if we don't want to do it in public, we could do it in executive session. I don't know whether or not it's allowed to be done in
No, it's
executive
not
session.
allowed.
It's not? Okay, then we should do it in the regular board meeting then. Sit down in a board meeting and do that. I'm perfectly fine with that. I think that's a great idea.
I mean,
And we do it in public.
you guys.
How is that related to this section? I'm confused. What,
It's a guardrail to prevent dysfunctional boards. So this
Yes,
is
but
what
this
he said,
section-
that we don't do this.
I guess, I don't see where this fits into this section that we're trying to.
We found the committees, I think, because
Yeah.
then it became an issue of the committees not functioning.
Yeah,
And may I ask for the chairs, if a committee doesn't meet for a year, can the chair be reassigned? Is that something that would be appropriate, Lotta, to have in the bylaws? If there's a committee that's not meeting, then
we-
one should look at.
My issue here, that this article regarding the meetings is about generally how meetings need to be conducted in accordance with the open meetings law. We are going in such a great detail with the assumption that the board is dysfunctional. I don't think we should have, I understand, maybe I'm not making any comments here on how the board functions. The point of the bylaws to put the skeleton of
Yes.
how the board and meetings and directors work together, but we are going in such a great detail that I don't think it's even necessary, even with the committee section. We have a section that states that the REAC Board of Directors need to establish 2 standing committees, which is Audit Committee and Governance Committee, and we have the description of these committees. But it does not mean we should not be having the charter of the committee. All these details should be outlined in the charter for committee, and we did this by the resolution. So it's not a substitute for the charter. We cannot put everything that
Yes.
pertains to committees
Yes.
into
Yes.
these bylaws,
Sure.
because they have separate
Right.
documents. We have committee charter. We call them, they were
I didn't realize.
resolutions. Yeah, so we
Right.
cannot foresee every
Yes.
small details, but the major thing here is the chair of the board or 3 board members can call a meeting, and we can, of course, put the provision that if committee recommends, that needs to be considered by the full
So
board.
that kind of thing
It
goes in
could
the
be
charter.
shorter. I'm not saying we should be putting safeguards, but it's so detailed.
Yeah, no.
that You would not put in the bylaws all these details.
So those kinds of safeguards belong in this charter, which I'm just not.
So
Yes, I think
Okay.
this could be put somewhere
Okay.
else, not in the bylaws, because again, it's a skeleton.
Yeah.
We cannot put meat on
Yes,
every
correct.
like bone here,
Correct.
and because we have a separate document
It's
that
gotta be
outlines
broad,
committee
right.
charts. Here we have to say 2 committees that are standing committees, governance and audit committee, outline the major functions of this committee, composition, not more than 3 members, and now we have 4, so there was no conflict with the bylaws in the past. The resolution was not good enough, I think, but there was no conflict with the bylaws, because not less than 3, 4 is not less than 3, so yes. The issue was the quorum, which was clarified here, but again, it should be outlined as a charter for each respective committee.
So Lydia, something else for
And
your
not,
agenda?
Yeah.
yes, we need to look at the committee,
Charter.
so we have so many additions in sections for audit committee, for governance committee, that's always from the model,
Yeah, that one
ABO.
goes back to the
This is
charter.
good, but it does not belong here,
So
it
then
should
we just
be
need
in
a
the
reference here
charter.
as
Okay.
to, according
Yes.
to the
That's what I
outline.
think.
I
Yeah.
actually, I don't think that's a bad thing. I just
Sorry, you
don't
guys,
have
you're all
access-
talking over each other. I can't, we can't hear what people are saying.
Okay, I apologize,
One at a
one
time.
person, sorry. Okay, so Lotta said that all of the, details about the committee should go into the committee charters, right? Resolutions, committee charters, which I don't have access to, so maybe I need to
To
get.
the
access.
resolution? You
No,
don't
no,
have
no,
to.
I don't, I mean, look what I have, this is what I have, none of it's in here. So I don't have access to it. So
Okay.
this is why I was so detailed in the bylaws.
Okay.
Because I didn't have access
Well, that's
to
good,
the
then.
charter,
Came up.
and I didn't have access to the resolutions. Historically, I have not had access to any of the resolutions, and sometimes the resolutions will come up mid-whatever we're trying to do, and say, you can't do this because there was a resolution, which I don't have access to. So we're functioning kind of in the blind, the blind leading the blind, not really, whatever. So that's something that I need access to. I
Any
need-
documents you need, especially corporate documents, we'll
Yeah,
happily
so
provide.
the problem is, I don't even know what I need. I don't even know what the corporate documents are. These
Yeah,
are
so
the
these
corporate
are-
documents I
yeah.
have. These are the corporate
These are major
documents that I do.
documents,
But I
yes,
don't
they're-
have any committee charters in here. They're not in here.
Yes, these are 4 resolutions that we can provide you.
Yes.
But I
So,
think
yeah.
in the bylaws, we need to outline the major functions of each committee. And for details, we can copy this from
Okay.
ABO model and put this in our
No, 11.
or amended resolution for
Okay,
each
that's
committee.
fantastic. I think that's
And,
wonderful.
yes, and if you want,
Yeah.
As long as it's somewhere that we can refer to.
and Mr. Eckel last time actually mentioned that the advisory committee and operations committee, advisory committee are not
Yeah,
mentioned.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
we should put that, because at the time that this document was created, we did not have operations advisory and real estate advisory committee at place at all.
Yeah.
So maybe it makes sense to add these 2 committees as well. And then we will have separate charters for each committee that were adopted by the board resolution.
So the question I have, is there a separate charter already for
For every
the-
committee, yes,
for REDAC and,
yes.
there is?
Mhm.
Okay, so if there is, then we need to add them in the bylaws, that's what you're saying, right?
We just need to mention that the REAC will have these committees as well. But here, there's the powers of this governing body to create committees. The two committees are mandated by law, by public
that on your
authority.
list.
No, it's okay.
Operate,
I had to mention it as well.
I'm so sorry, standing committee, the audit committee and governance committee, these are two committees that we are obligated to have by law. Public
Yeah,
authority
and-
law
and they-
mandates us. And two committees, and it also says that we have the powers to establish advisory committees. But we do already have these two committees, real estate advisory and operations advisory committee. So we can actually at least put paragraphs, certain articles about this committee. If necessary, REAC could create any committee, but for now, this committee would actually, I think they cover everything that's necessary in terms of operation, a real estate advisory committee. I don't think I think at a certain point we wanted to look at transportation committee, but it's under operations. So operations committee would cover these issues related to transportation. So I'm so sorry, I'm jumping.
No, that's okay.
From the-
I'm still looking for the
I'm
meeting
just
4 times
talking
a
about
year.
the bylaws
I
as a
wasn't
whole
aware they
in
were
general,
gonna-
as a principle.
I wondered about that before. Where are the meetings for
Where
times
does
a
it say here
year
that you have to meet 4 times a year?
for the committee?
There's nothing here that says there's
In the charter?
No, there is no requirement in the charter on resolution or any bylaws mandating the committee to meet certain period of time. Authorities Budget Office,
Yes,
recommends that governance committee
yes.
meets not less than 2 times a year. But they also, when I spoke to authorities budget office representatives, they told me that it's based on on your necessity, like it should be reasonable and it should be like not less than 2 times a year. And the board, and I know Margie always like voted against this kind of board meeting because we
That gets me
typically
nuts.
paid
Yeah.
to have at least like 45 days between every meeting and leave August for staff also and for the board members, of course, for vacation. And this year it was an exception. So we cannot say that other committees did not meet in August because typically that we leave at least 1 month for the board members, for executives, for staff to have a short vacation month. So, and REAC's practice for years was 8 scheduled board meetings, and as necessary, we can, if there are special board meetings, we can always call the meeting. Again, a chairperson or 3 board members can request a special board meeting, and it's been done, as it's just existing practice. As to committees, sometimes quite often we have audit committee tied to a board meeting, especially in June and in December when we have financial items presented to the board. And sometimes we have operations before the board meeting, what will be happening on October 22nd. And here, this year, we have like a support governance committee meeting because we are reviewing these documents, and it's more often than normally or usually happens, especially with the governance committee.
Well,
So
we're
maybe
making
it's not
up,
the right joke.
we're making up for lost years.
Right.
We
But
have,
again, there's nothing that mandates you must meet like 4 times or 5 times a year, not less than 2.
Yeah, but you just mentioned how the ABO, I mean, I know that was part of public benefits. You know,
Right.
Sorry, the governance, they have to have an audit and a governance
Mhm.
committee. I think that's one of the concerns, frankly, was for whatever reason, I'm not judging, but for whatever reason, it didn't meet for I mean.
Yeah, I don't know the
Over-
reason.
But that's why I think this is a fact
But,
that has to be considered when you look
But
at.
I just want to say, in
But
defense
it's-
of governance committee,
Yeah.
in governance committee defense, that their functions were temporarily taken, but because we have one member on this committee, were taken by audit committee, and whatever was needed to be done by governance committee, like the board members' reviews, were completed, were done. So we were in compliance in terms of submitting board members' review to our annual budget report.
For the
to our
survey,
parents.
yes,
Yes,
for the
so it
board
was
survey.
done.
But
However, that-
the
Yeah, but it
bylaws
was
were-
Really,
function was
a public
taken by-
benefit corporation, that's not. you know,
But I don't want
Entirely
to actually upset or
okay.
disappoint you, but the governance committee, don't meet quite often in other authorities. You might think
I
that.
understand that,
it's
Kelly
not
do twice
quite
a
often.
year.
Yeah.
That's, you know,
But they're probably properly organized and, you know,
twice a year is not an extreme amount,
and
you know,
functioning.
every 6 months.
So should we remove the proposed language here in section 1?
Thank you for getting back to this.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, not at all, not at all. So section 1, we're going back to section 1. Article 3.
Article 3, section 1.
Section 1.
Article 3, section 1.
This here.
Basically, isn't, what I'm reading on this is, there will be committee meetings, and the committees will recommend agenda items and pass them on to the chair. Right, and are we saying we don't want that? Because I think that's exactly what Martha's saying, that should happen. I don't see anything here that's in conflict with what he's saying.
Maybe the last two sentences are what maybe he was looking at.
That the corporation shall also ensure reasonable accommodations are provided for the communication access services, such as closed captioning to facilitate participation by individuals with hearing loss
And they
and
may not have to be
those
there.
for whom English is a second
No,
language.
Yeah, no, this-
of the new language, sorry, of the newly proposed language,
Right.
in red. The last two sentences of
I
the
have it
proposed
in
language.
blue.
I have it in blue too.
Or,
Yeah.
or whatever color it appears.
Yeah.
We have red line and blue line, but also there is a language, specific language related to ADA from open meetings law. And my suggestion was in one of my comments in previous versions that we need to copy this language. And I spoke with open meeting, with Committee on Open Government, they say, why would you need to put something here that detail that goes beyond what open meetings law requires? So their suggestion was to copy the section from open meetings law, if we want to make this reference regarding compliance. There's nothing there that requires closed captioning in open meetings law or something.
I would like there to be closed captioning.
But we cannot demand something that's not requested by law, you know? We have
But it's
things,
available on Teams, so why don't we just have it?
but it's not mandated, it's extra perk, but it's not something that open meetings law requires.
Also, just for the folks in that room, the closed captions on Teams are terrible. It's not capturing like half of what you're saying or capturing it correctly if it does. So to outline it that way just because you want Teams, I don't think that's gonna work.
The open meeting law requires live streaming. That's requirement of open meetings law. Nothing there, and there is a language regarding accessibility that I suggest we copy from open meetings law and not create our own language.
Yeah,
So can we
I
just
agree with a lot of, I
that part
think
out?
that
Say,
the
say
statute
all
should
meetings, board of
supersede.
directors shall be conducted in facilities that are in compliance with the open meetings law? And then
Yeah,
just
there
forget
is an
everything else?
exact language that I suggest, it's not here, that, for some reason, it didn't make it here, but there is a language in open meetings law specific to.
So we don't have to actually
Okay.
specify the accommodations,
Yes,
but we just say,
I think it was in my comments, it was in comment section, but I did not put it into the body of, because it's my comment and not.
Well, the last line says shall be consistent with your known as the open meeting.
Honestly, these two sections, all meetings of the board and approval resolutions shall be everything should be consistent
Yeah,
with New York
sure.
Public Offices Law, Article 7, known as the Open Meetings Law. Everything in our bylaws should be consistent with public authorities law and public offices law. And open meetings law is the section, Article 7 of New York Public Offices Law. Whatever provision we have in open meetings law that pertains to the conduct of the meeting, requirements for notices, for agenda, that's already spelled out there. It's not necessary to take certain
Yeah, I
portions of
think
open meetings.
this should come out.
Operate
It
here.
should revert to the original.
right, so that can come out.
Yeah, but if it
But
does come out,
But the
then
part
please-
about putting on the agenda the things that the committees ask for, that's not in the open meetings law, is it?
Yeah, we can, if you want to
That's
make,
part, I
have
think, I
assurances,
think
we
that was
can
the
add
point.
that, like, the committee may request, like, and whatever committee suggested must be
that
considered.
was
That's,
the
I think
important
that was
point.
the important
But
point
there is
here.
no need
I don't know why
to
they,
put this
yeah.
entire huge
Yeah.
paragraph.
yeah,
I think Margie's right.
I agree with that, but I also want the language in about closed captioning. I'm sorry, because I have too
Well,
many
you're the voting
people-
members.
I have too many people in the community who have come to
Yeah.
me about the fact that they can't hear.
Yeah,
And I'm not talking just the older people, I'm talking about younger people too. Whether or not it's because they have a language issue that they can't understand, people are talking too fast, and if there's closed captioning, they can actually read it, so that's, it's helpful. And I understand that, at one point, I was trying to push for looping, and that didn't happen. And I was trying to push for, a lot of people a community member used to push for CART, and then they would have to make sure that the person was there before they hired the CART. But why do we need CART? Is that whole, technique is available on Teams. And even if it's not perfect, it's better than nothing.
And I know there have been so many drafts
Also,
going
this,
out.
the original version says that
That's
they'll be in
already- I'm
compliance with applicable federal, state, and local accessibility laws. I think that's sufficient and covers any changes that may or may not be in the future. I don't think you should specify one particular service.
Exactly. We provide transcripts, which transcript is the full record of what was taught at the board, in addition to the minutes. We have a transcript. The fact that if you cannot, and there's exact language from the Open Meetings Law, Section 103, subsection 5, open meetings of any public body that are broadcast or that use video conferencing shall utilize technology to permit access by members of the public with disabilities consistent with the 1990 Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, as amended, and corresponding guidelines. For the purposes of this section, disability shall have the meaning defined in Section 292 of the Executive Law. That will suffice. That's sufficient. We don't have to put into this details that we just.
Okay.
And also, the disability does not necessarily include people like with hearing issues, right? There are other kinds of disabilities.
Right, that's, you
absolutely.
can't specify
Yeah.
particular
I
needs.
do know that people with hearing loss have been kind of like, I don't know, ghosted, gaslit by saying, some people have said, well, we don't have to do it if it's not practical or whatever. So I just want to make sure that it's done so people with hearing loss can participate. Because a lot of people with hearing loss, they want to participate, but they start coming to meetings because they don't understand it.
Well, we're actually providing these looping devices in the past. We have a couple of members in community with hearing issues, and we are providing this looping device when they're physically
It
present.
wouldn't hurt to go back to the lapel mics either, because we didn't have too many problems when people had those, but now that we're start pulling them over to
But
people.
my
putting them up.
suggestion is follow exactly what's written in the law. If the law defines it like that, and disability is the meaning of the section, we shouldn't be
No, that's
including
what
something extra.
I wondered. I know we have like 5 different drafts because everyone's worked so hard on this. With the Committee on Opens, they looked at this. I don't
Yeah,
know which
absolutely,
version they
yeah.
saw.
They looked at, but they didn't look at the final version.
Oh, they
They looked
didn't
at one of the
I know.
previous
Okay,
versions.
that's
But this
what I wondered.
language,
This was in there.
this language was in the original
was-
Oh, I
version.
didn't,
It was in it.
That
that's what's
they
my
looked
question.
It cleared.
And I spoke to them, and they told me that reference to the open meeting law is
Okay.
sufficient, or you can add the exact language in the open meeting law, section 103.5, and copy it here, if you wanna.
So do you have that, Conway? Do you have the language? Can you send it to him and then he can just copy and paste?
Okay, wow.
Oh, I think you just want to reference it.
Yeah,
though.
we
It's
just,
a whole
if you
big
just
thing.
reference
Yeah, you
section
can reference-
103.
Yeah, just reference it.
103.5, and I will.
Yeah, in compliance with,
Yeah, that's fine. That'd be good.
103.5.
You got it?
Okay, where do you want to put it?
It's where we start, all matters shall be conducted in facilities that's accessible to individuals. Once we start
What
talking,
was the first 3 words?
all meetings of the board,
Okay.
that's starting, when we start talking about disabilities,
It's
this
the
is
last
where we should.
sentence in
it-
Article
it-
3, Section 1.
Okay. And you want to reference the section here,
Yes. 103.5.
103.5. But I think my question, going back to what Morris was talking about, there's this, if you look on the screen, this here in particular, I think here is what he's talking about in terms of being inconsistent with committees coming up with the agenda. Here, we're saying only if 3 or more board members put something on the agenda, does it get on the agenda.
Oh, I thought that was in addition to. I thought it was either something that committee recommends, or if 3 or more board members say, I'd like this on the agenda.
You guys.
Wait, say that again?
You two.
Sorry.
So this sentence I'm highlighting here?
I don't know where, it's not on the draft that you,
Right, I understand what Margie said, that if you have 3 independent board members, perhaps on the same committee, have something they'd like to be discussed at a board meeting.
well, that was more because that was during the dysfunctional board. So he's saying that we're not really concerned about what's happening in a dysfunctional board. We only really want to address what's happening
Yeah,
in a functional
Which
board.
is,
And this particular statement was just there because we had a dysfunctional board for such a long time.
that if you have working committees, you'll feel that it's a better functioning board.
Yeah. So that's why, because that's what happened in the first 6 months. Ben Mahal and I wanted to know something that was, we were very upset about something that was going on. So we asked for an additional meeting, but that additional meeting did not include the reason why we wanted that additional meeting because the chair of the board didn't put it on the agenda. And so what we called the meeting for was not addressed.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the concern, and that's what that was supposed to address. But if we don't have a dysfunctional board, that's not something that necessarily needs to be addressed. But the thing is, it happens. This is the board that it happens
Of
in.
volunteers who
Yeah.
have very full lives.
So that's the question. What can we do to put guardrails in place so that this doesn't happen again? What do you think? Open for discussion.
You experienced board members should.
Well, he was here. He didn't come back until they were seated.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
didn't
and that's
have this
always-
problem when I was on the board, so.
Yeah,
It is historical. I mean,
yeah, this is,
it's not.
is it unprecedented? I don't know if it's unprecedented. Margie,
Typically, if we were in a committee meeting and we wanted something brought to the board, it would just be, the chair would say, I'll tell the commissioner, or the commissioner, whomever, the chair, and it would be on the next board meeting agenda. I don't ever remember getting told we're not putting it on the agenda.
yeah,
And it could be. It can be done during a report, right? When the committee chairs have to give a report at a board meeting.
They
be done.
could bring it up during the report, yeah, but sometimes we ask for something to specifically be voted on or something, and, but yeah, the chair could also bring it up in the report.
yeah, but at that time, there were no committees first.
Right, I was just gonna ask
Well,
now
when I was
that
on
if
the
you have active committees,
Yeah, now that we
does that
do,
mean
right.
this becomes obsolete, this need for 3?
Right,
So
right.
we could say, in the event that there are no committees, or there are missing committees, then we can have, if this comes up. This is all matters requested by board members shall be included in the agenda if there are more than, was it 3? Sorry, I have to go up. It should be here.
It's right here.
What Mark is saying, for normally functioning boards with a committee structure, the way the items are added to the board's agenda is by a vote of the committee to recommend an item for board consideration.
Right here.
That's right, and I think that's what it's saying here,
But
in a very wordy way.
No, I think the writing that's in here now is implying that anyone at the board meeting can just say, hey, I have an item and I want to do a resolution now. That's not saying it should come from a committee specifically. I think it just needs to be crafted better if that's what you want it to do.
Yeah, so we need to craft it better. So it's this sentence, so we, all matters requested by, just take that one. So to say more like in the event that there aren't there's, some suspension of committees. In the event there's suspension of committees, all matters
I
requested
believe
by.
that says it's fine for women who are shorter, generally under 5'4".
What did you say?
Second.
Megan, what did you say?
I didn't say anything.
Somebody there said something. I mean, do we have to stay here? We're talking about board meetings. Okay, so what we want to say is how does something get on the agenda? The staff and the commissioner agree that an item should be on the agenda, or a committee asks for something to be put on the agenda, or 3 or more board members who may or may not be on the same committee, but just have an issue that they want discussed, can ask for it to be put on the agenda. I mean, are those the points we're trying to make?
Yes, seems to be.
But I think there is a section, and Mr. Peters pointed it to, we have a separate section in Article 4, which says the chairperson setting the committee, like coordinating the work of the board committees, managing the flow of information. I think in this section, in the meeting, it's just the matter how meetings need to be conducted in general. And we keep putting committees into everything, while we have a separate section on committees.
That's that's what it said in the committee section, because maybe that's.
So maybe we should take that out and put it in.
And there's section meetings, and there's section about agenda. There is a section here, order of business, resolutions,
Section 4, right? Section 4, okay. The chairperson shall provide, okay, in addition to take the lead in the oversight role, which includes setting the board's agenda, managing flow of information, coordinating. Okay. That doesn't say, that kind of says the chairperson puts what's on the agenda, period.
So can we add to the chairperson that, includes setting the board's agenda in concert with committee
chairs or 3 or more board members.
Committee chairs
Yeah,
or 3, or consider the 3 board members?
An agenda item can be presented
Yeah.
in these ways, that's basically what you're trying to say.
Right.
Somebody, you want to list this?
Yeah, you probably want to include that in the meetings section.
Back in the meetings piece, yeah, that's kind of what.
Okay.
We are back there.
Because there's some items there, it's just like, to me, they're common sense, they don't even need to be there. It's like only matter specified on the agenda and properly noticed to the public. We have the notice requirement, it's just part of the open meetings law. Of course, it should be properly noticed to the public. We must comply, because when we're saying we comply with the open meetings law, there are notice requirements, when it needs to be sent. We cannot put everything, the entire sentence, I don't like it, only matters specified on the agenda and properly noted to the public shall be considered and acted upon by the members of the authority. First of all, members of the authority, we are not members of the authority, it's a real board. We have a definition here, with why is it members of authority?
I don't know where that was taken from.
Yeah, I don't know, but because I feel that it's taken from different parts, from different, other places.
This
But we
probably
need
got
to be
came from
together.
Battery Park City.
And my
You
apologies.
want to strike that first sentence?
Yes. Yes, whatever is on the agenda, that's the subject, that would be discussed at the board meeting.
Right, then the question only becomes, how does something get put
How does
on
it
the
get,
agenda?
how does the agenda get
Yes,
formulated, not
Right.
how
Yes,
it
the
gets.
agenda is proposed always together, it's always worked out with the chair of the board.
Mm-hmm.
We should not be taking chair of
Of
the
course.
chairperson's
Of course.
powers with executive team and of course committee members. And I should have started with this. 3 board members want something, they can suggest it. That should be important. That's simple. Chairperson or 3 board members or committee members.
I think we all
Together with-
agree.
I think we all agree with that, but we don't see it saying it here.
That's it, yes.
It's
Yeah.
about where do we insert it and how is it, what's the language that's
Right,
used.
to say exactly what you're saying.
I think everyone, right?
Okay, well, it says that now. I mean, I struck the first sentence that you were
Okay.
discussing, Lana, but
Yes.
now it reads, Any items requested by the committee can be included in the agenda,
Yes,
and all matters requested by 3 or more board members can be included on the agenda.
and there is no point with considered by the full board. We don't need the full board. By the board, it's obvious that the quorum, and this is
Right.
not full board. Also, ensure transparency, advice notice. It's all like, it's,
That's, right.
By the board.
yeah.
Okay, I don't know why mine isn't updated as yours, but that's okay. I just got this on the.
This last sentence, additionally, any agreement in principle item requested by the board members during.
And I also agree with what Mr. Peters said, agreements in principle, that's just not
Yeah.
legal language. What is it is? It shouldn't be a thing. This concept was also added to Article 3, Section 7.
Yeah,
Yes, that's
Agreements in
right.
principle.
we'll strike agreement in principle.
All right, yeah,
Just have agenda items.
Where was that? That was,
in section 1 also.
Yeah, it was very verbose, so in editing, it's always good.
oh, additionally, okay, an agreement in principle or agenda item requested by board members during a meeting shall be presented for a vote in the following scheduled meeting. Okay, well, that's, yeah, I think I know what they're saying. The discussion gets around some other topic that comes up, and they say, okay, we'll bring that to another board meeting, but I don't know if you have to say that here.
So what happened,
Then,
okay, we'll keep on going.
yeah,
We'll just keep on going.
yeah,
Okay,
We're good?
yeah,
I think we're good.
okay. Hey, we're already
All
at
right.
page 4, wow.
That's it. Section 1 of the in principle.
Okay.
I'm still gonna read it. All
Okay.
right, so,
Well, wait, did you read this? Finally, for section 1, there's a new bit on.
no, I
voting
didn't read the one
accessibility.
before, I didn't read
Okay,
that one
you didn't
yet.
read that one
I
yet,
didn't read
okay.
that one yet, so I'm gonna- it says, in section 1, agreements in principle are not a thing, should not be.
Okay, we struck.
Yeah, we
Yeah, we
already
just struck that,
Right.
we just did
Painting,
that.
not.
Okay, good,
Okay,
okay,
yeah.
okay. Okay,
Finally.
finally, for section 1, there's a new bit on meeting accessibility. While I'm sure we all support goals, such things are governed by open meeting laws, I don't know whether the section is consistent.
Oh, yes, we already
That's-
discussed
I think
that.
we
Yes,
discussed
Yeah, we
that.
agree that that's concept.
Next, Article 3, Section 2. Again,
No.
I'm not a lawyer, but it appears that some of these changes are inconsistent with open meeting law. For example, the draft changes the requirements for notice to personally or by electronic mail at least 3 business days prior thereto, or by mail at least 10 business days prior thereto. This would be a departure from the language of this law. 104, public notice of the time and place of meetings scheduled at least 1 week prior thereto shall be given or electronically transmitted to the news media and shall be conspicuously posted in one or more designated public locations at least 72 hours before such meeting.
That's exactly the language in the law, and I totally agree with Mr. Peters. And changing 72 hours, it's not 3 business days. The law says 72 hours. 72 hours is 3 calendar days, not 3 business days. I think we need to revert to the language as written in the law.
I don't have a
In
problem
open
with that.
meeting law.
Anyone have a problem with that?
No, I think this is.
And also, like, with distributed by mail, we don't distribute anything by mail, actually. We
Yeah, it was
distribute-
probably old.
Right,
It was
but I think
probably
with-
language.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay, so we don't have a problem with that.
Mm-mm.
Conway, can you change it?
I'm sorry, I missed, I was looking at something else.
Okay.
What's the change?
Yes, the entire change, the entire section should go instead of notice. That's the language from open meetings law. We can just, if you just reference section 104, that's the language for the public notice.
Okay, where are we putting it?
Instead of this, like, the
Article
section?
3, Section 2. A notice. Got it?
Oh, we're in section 2.
Section 2, Article 3.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, that's mine.
And, I'm sorry, Lana, you want to add this reference where?
I think the first sentence, actually, written notice shall be delivered to each director. That probably should stay, because that's what we do when we distribute materials to, but then it talks about public notice, meaning it distributes to the members of public, to the news media, and that's additional provision, that public notice must be distributions to the members of public and conspicuously posted on one of designated public locations. So I think the first sentence should stay, that we need to deliver this to the board members, because we send the notice and agenda and the materials to the board members, we send it to elected officials, we send it to the members of the media.
Okay, so we're not touching the first sentence.
Yeah.
Any edits?
And then we add this public notice, we can state that it should be distributed 72 hours. And again, 72 hours applies to regularly scheduled board meetings. Sometimes we have special board meetings, and the language is as reasonable, as practical, reasonable as actual language. Because sometimes we have special board meetings, and even 48 hours would work. But I think 72 days, 72 hours is fine.
So it says public notice, so I would change it to, instead of written notice, public notice of all directors' meetings shall be delivered to the elected public officials who
Yes.
represent Roosevelt Island as representatives to the board of directors.
It's the
Public
same, it
notice
should be
is
the
written,
same
yeah.
language, yes.
Yeah, instead of written. Public instead, so take that written and change it to public. And then it says, at least, see, it says, so instead of saying no less than 3 days prior, at least 1 week prior thereto shall be given, whatever, that language, right? At least 72 hours before such meeting. So over here, let me just, at least.
So instead of not less than 3 days, not less than 7 days?
Yeah.
But again, we should be consistent. If it's saying the law says 72 hours, we should stick to hours, 72 hours. And then
Right.
we switch
Yeah,
to 3 days
right.
in the same paragraph.
So we'll say instead of, 72 hours, instead of 3 days. And then 1 week prior shall be given or electronically transmitted to the news media and shall be conspicuously posted in one or more designated public location at least 72 hours before such meeting. And we can get rid of the rest of it. We don't have to say failure to give notice to public officials shall not affect the validity of any action taken at the meeting. Any notices hereunder shall be deemed to have been given when deposited in the United States mail address. Yeah, just take the rest away.
Honestly, failure to give notice is a violation of open meeting law.
Yeah, so we just take it out, right? Everything after failure to give notice,
Oh, Lydia.
you right? You right?
Yes, I
Okay.
am, I'm sorry.
To give notice to public officials shall not, so the last two sentences can be deleted. I like short is good. That's what,
So we're striking everything from failure to the end of the paragraph.
yeah, is that all right?
Okay.
Since we don't have to worry about prepaid postage and electronically transmitted, but we do have to say it has to be given or electronically
Let me check
transmitted.
if it's
So
requirement.
did you get that? So let me show you.
So I have what you see on the screen.
Oh, I don't know. So over here, see over here, between here, this has to be in there somewhere. At least 1 week prior shall be given or electronically transmitted to the news media and shall be conspicuously posted. You might be able to cut and paste from
Okay, let me
Email,
just
right?
add that.
yeah. So, you see it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Or you can-
We can simply say the public notice shall be provided in compliance with pursuant to section 104 of open meetings law.
Well, you
Because
could
there are
do
like,
that too.
there's 6 sections in this public notice.
All right. Is that good?
Should we reference it to section 104?
Well, technically, we can just reference the public notice, section 104, but we already said at the very beginning that we should make everything in compliance with the open meetings law.
Yeah.
And if we want to be very thorough, we can copy the entire section 104 of public notice on the open meetings law, which is 6 subsections. Or we can just reference, or we can just say that it must be written, we can leave it like by the first sentence, then we can leave 72 hours, and then we should say that the public notice should be given in compliance with section 104, just like Mr. Peters suggested. They definitely didn't mention this mailing, whatever.
Okay, so I struck pretty much the whole rest of it and just said, in compliance with section 104 of the meeting law.
Because,
There you go.
because
There you
it's redundant, all
It's
the
stated.
back to
Okay.
communication.
So I think you have to remove that second sentence where it says, if personally or by electric mile, at least 3 business days prior thereto, it's already, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, it's, kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, it's redundant,
that's
it's
fine.
redundant, yeah.
Yeah, instead of written notice, it's public notice.
Yeah, the public notice should be always be in writing, yes.
yeah. Okay, so we have,
Yeah, correct, the first word should be public, not written.
public most of the time, place and purpose of any meeting of the director shall be delivered to each director by the secretary. If personally or by electric mail, at least 3 business days.
We have to do 72 hours, we can't do 3 business days, we have to do 72 hours.
Yeah.
Hours.
At least 72 hours.
But are we saying the same thing in what the language that you just added?
Wait, hold on a second, it has to be at least 1 week prior to be given or electronically transmitted to news media, and to be conspicuously posted in one or more designated public location at least 72 hours before such meeting.
Okay, what do we need to change?
So, what is it? Public notice of any meeting shall be, it doesn't have to be delivered, whatever, it doesn't matter. At least, not 72 hours, it would have to be a week.
So when originally, I think when the original bylaws were drafted, we didn't, in 1985 or later, we didn't have open meetings law
Mm-hmm.
at all. So
Right.
that's why we have
That's
those
why that
detailed
stuff is in
sections.
there,
And now every agency and authority has the same requirements for public notice. So we shouldn't be any different from what is on open meetings law. And
So make that, instead of 72 hours, make that a week?
Yep, so we got 1 week prior thereto, or, and then we can, I think, strike the rest of this.
Prior to, hold on a second. At least 1 week prior thereto shall be given or electronically transmitted to the news media. Do we want to put, we might as well put the words in. I think we might as well just put the words in, if that's the law.
Yeah.
Right, instead of just referring to it, because like, you know, I don't have the law at my fingertips.
No,
Or,
I don't know
you
that.
know, my synapses don't go legal. So, let's see, so say at least 1 week prior thereto shall be given or electronically transmitted to news media and shall be conspicuously posted in one or more designated public locations at least 72 hours before such meeting. Might as well, okay? So if we're gonna refer to it, we might as well just say what it is. Because I know that you say if you just refer to the law, that's good enough. Sorry.
yeah, that's what they said, yes.
Yeah.
You don't have to copy everything, and sometimes they have changes in the open meetings law. For example, section about video conferencing was
Right.
changed several times already.
And we've got it
And we
set
should be
here, so we have
rewriting
to
the
keep
bylaws
rewriting
every
the bylaws.
time, but we reference the section,
Right.
or the open meetings, so
That's
it's
a good
good
point.
enough.
Before such meeting. Hold on a second, now I can't read. So close. Sorry, I wish it was on my laptop, just I can read it from my laptop. At least a week prior.
Wow.
To be given. okay with that?
Yeah, I don't see the screen either, believe it or not. I'm
That's why I had to walk up there. That's why I had to walk up there, I couldn't see the screen. All right. Megan, you can see the screen, right, or no? Megan?
Yes, I can see the screen.
Fantastic, okay, good. I'm glad. All right. Are you okay with that, what Conley just did?
Yes.
Fantastic. Section 4, I'm going to the next one. Section, what's the source of this language? So that's the interested board. It says no board member or employee.
Interested director.
I'm sorry?
Interested director.
directors, yeah.
Oh, this is independent.
And so he said, I suggest this section be reviewed by outside counsel for consistency with public officers law.
Okay, I think we struck that. I'm showing it struck here.
Below it, the ones that wasn't,
Ah,
yeah.
got it.
It says, interested directors, no board member or employee may participate in any decision or take any official action with respect to any matter requiring the exercise of discretion, including discussing the matter and voting when they know or have reason to know that the action could confer a direct or indirect financial or material benefit on themselves, a relative, or any organization in which there is an interest. Board members and employees must recuse themselves from deliberations, votes, or internal discussions on matters relating to any organization, entity, or individual where their impartiality in the deliberation or vote may be reasonably questioned and are prohibited from attempting to influence other board members or employees in the deliberation and voting on the matter.
That's all.
Yeah, what is
That's
that
There's that one.
What is it?
Yes, prohibited from attempting.
You gotta recuse yourself.
It's conflict of
Yeah.
interest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Honestly, we have a separate policy covering
I think that's
ethics.
in our code of ethics,
It's
right?
absolutely.
That's in our, which is
Exactly.
based on the public officers law.
Yes, exactly. It's already spelled out in some other documents.
Okay, so do you want to say that?
I don't think
Yeah,
we need
please,
it all.
look at it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's because if it's, we have a separate
Yeah,
policy
we
for
may not
this.
need that.
Yeah, if it's in the code of ethics can take it out.
For the ethics. Right, I prepared this myself, actually. Employees, makes it employees, disclose confidential, may not disclose information, and to use for employees. Okay, here this, rule with respect to conflict of interest.
Correct.
No director, officer, or employee of the corporation it may have any interest, financial or otherwise, direct or indirect, or engage in any business or transaction or professional activity, or incur any obligation of any nature, which is a special conflict with the proper discharge of his duties in the public interest. So basically, that's paraphrasing what's already in our.
Redundant.
Right.
It's redundant,
It's
it's part of it, we do have it, and it's like, if you have an interest, you recuse yourself.
Yeah, I think that whole
Okay.
section can.
So, yeah, we really don't need
We
it.
don't need it all.
So if it was originally in the bylaws, we can take it out and refer to. the
Was it
code of
even in
ethics?
the bylaws? It looks like it's all new.
No, it's
No, this was,
an ad, yeah.
this section was added, but we do have this.
Do you know who was added by? Was it
It might have been me.
or ABO or?
No, ABO
no,
didn't.
didn't add
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
ABO reviewed what we.
What we gave, okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
the entire paragraph.
Okay, so we
This
can,
ever being in our bylaws.
so we'll just strike,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
already covered.
It might have been me that added it, but I don't remember, hold on a second, let me look. Because if it was me that I added it, and because I knew that historically there were several, board members that may have had a conflict of interest, so let me just look.
My apologies, actually.
What?
I have this ABO email regarding interest in directors that seems to be following business corporation law, and this is recommended language from ABA conflict of interest policy. So no board member or employee may participate. The first paragraph, we do have it in our policy.
Yeah, are they suggesting it go in the bylaws though, or are they?
Yes, and then,
really?
yeah, and then said the members must recuse themselves from deliberations, votes, or internal discussions, voting on the matter. That's, my apologies, that's
So
actually
they're saying,
So they're saying put it in.
ABO said keep it even though we already have it in our code of ethics.
Yes, because, yes, but again, they just reviewed this portion, and we also have a code of ethics, but this seems to be following business corporation law.
Okay, so leave it.
But it was added first,
Is it the same?
and then they suggested, no, use this language. But we do have at least the first paragraph of this language in our code of ethics, but they don't, again, they don't look at all
They don't
our
look at
documents.
Right.
Right.
So they want to
Okay.
make sure we do have it somewhere, and that's why I
Okay.
suggested
And can
put
you
here.
say board members must follow the code of ethics, what you have in the code of ethics?
Yes. But again, they didn't see other documents,
Right.
but they want to ensure that language is here, that
Mhm.
you cannot vote or,
Okay.
so maybe not strike and take a second look at this. I'm so sorry, there's an ABO conflict of interest policy. So conflict of interest policy is in our ethics.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
You say-
So maybe we should,
So strike, yeah.
what do you think? Because we have a doc,
Looking
we have it, yeah.
You have it,
We did not put, incorporate
Yeah.
everything
No,
that's.
no, I think they're just saying that
So
that
just
you should
refer-
have
Yeah, you
one.
should have that kind of language
Refer
somewhere,
to
and we
it,
do.
saying,
Right.
interested directors will follow the, where is it, code of ethics? what is it?
Yeah, our,
Yeah,
allowing code of ethics.
And I'm fine with that.
Unless when we have our external law firm,
Yeah,
CLM, do a
yes,
review, maybe
this-
they should
Exactly.
decide to
Mhm.
either keep it or remove it.
So do you wanna leave it there to see if CLM says keep it or remove it?
There's no harm of keeping it here if they think that it's too much, we already have it somewhere else.
Okay, then keep it. All right,
All right, keep it.
all right, so then, next, oops, sorry.
Section 7.
So this is, section 7, to my comments about the conflict of agreement in principle.
Yes, there's this last sentence.
Matter of voting?
Yeah, if you go to section 7, the last sentence begins with "in the event of." So the whole sentence reads, "In the event of an impromptu resolution at the meeting, an agreement in principle may be voted on with the exact legal wording following the meeting and approved at the next meeting." So it's this agreement in principle that's not a thing. We don't want to rely on that.
Yeah.
And the question is, do we need this sentence? If we remove that from the sentence, the sentence doesn't really work. Do we need to keep this sentence?
I know what they're getting at. Sometimes you get onto something in some particular issue and you don't want to have to wait to bring it up at the next meeting. You want to say, okay, if everybody agrees that's what we should do, then let's go ahead and Lotta, would you put that in the right resolution? In the right wording, but assume it's been approved at this board meeting. So you don't have to wait a whole month for the thing to actually be
So
in
is
place.
it counter to open meetings law? That's the question. I think that was the issue.
No.
Is it counter to open meetings law?
No, because what we're saying is, here's what we want to do. Lotta's going to put it in legalese for us, but we're voting to go ahead with it now. We're not going to wait a whole month before whatever this thing we're talking about gets put in place.
It's voted on,
It's voted on in the meeting
but it's not.
with the
like,
understanding that,
I'm so sorry, I get lost.
Okay.
Section 7.
Section 7,
Section 7.
yeah. It said if there's an agreement in principle, like the resolution in legalese will follow. But if we have an agreement in principle, it can get approved at this meeting with the understanding that the actual legal wording will come later.
And what he's saying, Morris is saying is, in principle, it's not a thing.
Mhm.
Yes,
An agreement.
it's not
Great.
something, yes, there's no, like, it's either consensus or vote.
Okay.
So,
So
what
we'll
you're
just say
saying,
is voted upon, the exact legal wording can come later, because that's pretty
That's
much
how
what
you've
we're
been
saying.
operating
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
past, that's how the board operated.
Think about
Yeah.
it. So practically speaking, so if something comes up at a board meeting, we want to vote on it right then and there, and we don't have a resolution presented.
Yeah, because it was something that didn't occur to somebody, or just happened, or came out of another discussion, and we say, yeah, we better do that, like, right away, we don't want to
But we
wait a
have a
month.
previous section where we say exactly that, only items that presented
Yeah,
before and
yeah.
on the agenda must be voted upon. That's how
Yeah.
we are saying there's something transpired during meeting, and we come up with.
But it was practice
but it
here.
was-
That's why
all
we
the time.
don't need to put this
Who was the
restriction.
lawyer? Who was
But,
doing it
hold on,
then?
one person, wait.
I'm sorry, Margie's pointing out it had been standard practice, though, here. Were you I mean, I don't know which
They
attorneys were
would,
doing
they would
this.
say to us, Laura will put that in the right wording later.
I think there was a couple of times when the board come up with something, and we came up with the language later on. That
Right.
was-
I mean-
I think it happened at least maybe a couple of times.
Oh,
But
sure.
it was,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
But more as an exception to the
exactly.
rule. But my point is, in one of
Right,
our
the first thing
previous
was saying
sections,
only
we're
those
saying
things-
all the items that are on the agenda and were distributed for prior review to the board members can be voted upon. And then we're saying, oh no, we agreed in principle about something, let's prepare the resolution. But that was not on the agenda, that was not presented to the board. Why are you coming up with something else? So it's either this or that, or just don't put restrictions on either.
Or don't put restrictions on
The
it,
fewer
yeah.
restrictions, the better usually in bylaws, right?
Yeah.
Do you wanna take it out?
Well, no, that's just to
Well-
get agenda items onto
Yeah,
the agenda.
But in
Right.
terms
But this is talking about something that's like impromptu,
Right,
emergency.
it comes in new business or other business,
Right, new
something
business,
like that.
right, wouldn't have,
but
Wouldn't have
technically,
had it.
terms
Yeah.
can be, but there were a couple of times when the board has to come up right at the meeting, they put some draft in writing, just literally
Right.
like handwriting, and then we
And
put
then,
this.
right,
yes,
but we didn't wait for the next board meet, we said it's okay, approved, and,
Yes.
So we could say, in extenuating circumstances, new business can be voted upon.
The only question, what is defined as extenuating circumstances, why we can do this? So then we can, yeah.
So I don't know, you're saying that's bad?
That's why my point is, when we put too many detailed restrictions,
Yes.
we caught ourselves like we cannot move forward. That's why it's just a principle that needs to be outlined how we operate. But if we would try to foresee every detail, the board has that's what's written by laws. We
well,
don't-
I think what we want to hedge against is, we vote on something, we say, Lotta, figure out the language later,
Yeah,
and then the language that's figured out later is not exactly what we voted on at the meeting.
yeah.
And so I think it's probably incumbent upon us at the meeting to put in writing and put in the language that we need, that we want to have voted on exactly as we want it to be voted on at that meeting. So getting away from this agreement in principle concept and just saying, you have a resolution, it's fine if it just comes up as new business, but word it then and there how you want it.
The problem here, that the public, if it's an open session, is open item, right? Not
Mhm.
part of executive session. The public needs, they have a right to know what exactly was.
I will tell you, at community board, that happens quite often, that they're putting together a resolution on the spot
On
at the
the
meeting,
spot.
and they are following open meeting law
Yeah.
as well. So, I mean, it does happen that someone, then they get together and they huddle and they scratch
But-
something, and
I think the major thing, resolutions to be in writing, that's what open meeting law requires. I don't think we should be going into this, like, details of, I don't know.
I just want to find wording that allows us to
yeah,
do
you
that
want,
if we
you
need
want to
to.
have
Yes,
something
yes, yes.
spontaneous
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I think it gives flexibility. If
But-
we don't have it, then it's gonna be like, wait, the bylaws
Wait a
don't
month.
say
You have
it.
to
Or
wait
2
for next
months,
month.
or whatever.
Right.
Mhm.
And there may be things that
Or
happen.
And
September.
when we
Or-
put the resolution in writing, it could be handwritten, it doesn't.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what often happens, I think.
So-
And we will post it on the website after it was adopted
So
and
we can
finalized it.
Allowing for the event of an impromptu resolution at a meeting. So that's what we wanna do, we want to allow for the event,
Mhm.
As part of new business.
Mhm.
business, for the event of an impromptu resolution at the meeting. So you take the rest of it out, and we have to just craft that first part of the sentence. All right, so a question or matter may be approved by roll call or unanimous consent in the event of an impromptu resolution at the meeting, comma, no, it doesn't even need a comma, consent, and then no period. so you could just take that out. After an agreement in principle, maybe we'll just delete the rest of that sentence.
All right. Yeah, I'm with you.
And then it says, a question or matter may be approved by roll call or unanimous consent. Take the period out, make a lowercase I in the event. Oh, and you know, I'm not even saying, no, wait, you don't even have to add it, it's already there, right?
Oh, I see.
A question, yeah. And take that period out and then lowercase I.
All right, I think that works.
I think that works. I can form a sentence. Yay. Okay. Lara, does that make sense to you? I put a question or matter may be approved by roll call or unanimous consent in the event of an impromptu resolution at the meeting. Is that okay?
Yeah, I need to think about this.
Think about it, think about it. While you think about it, can we go on to the next one and we'll think about the next one, or should we wait?
Yeah, because the section actual name is manner of voting, and manner of voting is roll call.
I agree with
Yes,
you.
no.
It feels like it belongs in in another
Resolution
section.
by writing
Yeah,
section. It
yeah.
should be in resolution section, not in because we're talking about impromptu resolutions.
Yes.
But manner of voting is how the voting is done. Roll call, yeas, nays, abstain, that's the manner of voting. And then we're talking about impromptu resolution.
All right.
That should go back to-
Impromptu
yeah,
Okay,
right.
resolution.
I'm just gonna copy at least this language. into the-
Copy and paste.
Yeah. And we're gonna make sure that this goes here. By the way, there's no period here.
That makes a lot more sense. Thank you, Lotta.
And again, so we're talking, did we change this proceeding of the authority? We should change
That should
authority,
be
RIAC,
for the corporation.
Yeah, so it should be either RIAC or the corporation, because,
Yeah, I agree. Okay, now coming back here, let's restore this back to how it was.
I'm not sure we should say exact legal wording. It should be without legal, just exact, anyway.
Yeah,
I will-
this will just be period, the way it was. And we don't need this. We don't need this here, because we have it here.
Okay.
So, in resolutions to be in writing, a question or matter may be approved by roll call. or
Well, they call it
Actually, we don't even need,
HCR, yeah.
We should say that if there's improper resolution, it should be added to the agenda and voted
Oh, you
upon,
can say
there's
it's
no
council,
language,
yeah,
it will
yeah.
follow, like, exact language for,
yeah.
Commissioners HCR.
but we say approved at the next meeting.
We don't want to approve.
No, we don't want to do that.
We want to approve that meeting.
We need to approve at this meeting, not at the next.
Yeah.
But this, obviously, this needs input from outside counsel, if we can do this at all.
Just take that out, yeah.
And we are now only going through Mr. Peters' comments, but we didn't even consider Mays and.
Well, we're gonna go through that too.
Crowd, yeah.
Okay.
So this is how it reads currently. An impromptu question or matter may be approved by roll call or unanimous consent at the meeting. I don't think we really need the roll call part, but.
Okay, I'm okay with that. Okay.
All right.
You don't want roll call? Doesn't matter to me.
I think that's, do we need to say roll call?
Yes, it's a procedure, yes, it should
Okay.
be a roll call, and
All
it
right.
is, because it says, manner of voting, actually, what do you say, a roll call? Roll call is at the beginning of the board meeting when we
Roll call,
want
and.
to establish the quorum. My point is, well, the last time there was exact objections when we put the resolution during the meeting, and we wanted it to be presented. The good practice is to have the resolutions presented before the meeting. So this shouldn't be, it should be only in certain very rare circumstances. We should not abuse this improperly, because we say, okay, this is just on Friday, let's vote on that.
Do you want to say on rare occasions, an impromptu question or matter? Do you want, or do you not
I
want?
don't know,
When
I
time
would say-
sensitive, when urgent, or, I mean, there's a time.
Yeah, like, to the extent necessary.
Yes, it should be something,
Yeah.
yes, that,
Yeah,
oh,
just
be,
to the
not
extent
just
necessary, yes,
any
that's
fine.
item, oh, I
If
forgot
necessary.
about this, and
Yeah,
let's add it.
yeah.
if necessary.
To the extent necessary, that's great, thank you. Perfect.
Just curious, Lana, how long are we gonna go?
Yes.
We're almost
I don't
through
care, I mean,
board comments,
No.
we
Yeah.
still have David and Christian. Or-
And some of them are
yeah.
similar, though, I know, in skimming them.
So some are similar, so we can hopefully, all right, let's get through Martha's. Just try.
Because it is, yes, yes.
Yeah, I think these are, yeah. And hopefully, by the time we get to Faye and David,
Yeah, I think there's some overlap.
they'll be overlapping, we won't really need to. Okay, so over here. Where are we now?
Section 8.
Maybe he's right, we
While
don't have,
both need not say that we will follow the law, it's assumed we have no choice in matters of law, supersedes bylaws by any. Okay?
that's
We
true.
may not need
Mhm.
to, but I don't think it's a bad thing for it to say that we will.
Well, it probably is, because if you don't say it everywhere, then people wanna know why'd you say it here? Because it kind of implies you don't have to do it everywhere, so. And right at the end, it says,
I think
anything
there-
contrary to the law,
Yeah.
the law supersedes it, so I don't think we need it anywhere, actually, in the document.
We may not need it, but it's a good thing to have, because that's say.
I think the reason why we added this section, because it was, if you notice, it's, right after section 7, that was approval of resolutions without meetings. That cross out, that was violating open meetings law. And that's why there was a suggestion from 2018 to add the
Oh,
section that all
okay.
meetings of the board should be in compliance, should be consistent with the New York Public Officers law. But we already said it somewhere. I think if we
Yeah.
want to say this, we need to say it once,
Right.
not just every.
Right.
You say once at the top of the agreement.
Yeah.
This is
Right.
not- This is not
Probably,
the first
yeah.
time we've.
The bottom or
Yeah,
somewhere, if you just spot it here and there, then you say, oh, this section you have to apply.
Yes,
You
because-
don't.
Right, so do you wanna put it at the top,
Well, I'm finding, where.
or at the bottom?
Where's the first time we mentioned it?
We said it in section 1, all meetings of the board and approved resolutions be consistent with New York State Public Officers law, known as the open meetings law. And then we say it again in section 8, and put it as open meetings law. We don't have to say this like in a separate section.
Right.
It's understood that it should be compliance with open meetings law. And I'm just explaining the reason why this section made it
Right,
here.
no, I
because
get it,
it's
yeah. I'm
to
thinking
avoid
now we
approval
don't need it.
resolutions without meeting. That was in violation of open meetings law. This particular section was problematic.
But it isn't now.
Article 3, section 2 of
Right?
the first amendment.
Did we fix it?
No, we didn't, I mean, we're fixing it now,
Mhm.
but I can assure you that no votes was done, no resolutions were approved without meetings. So even though this section existed, redundant and violating, contradicting open meetings law, we were not doing this like that.
Wait, hold on, so where is it that is contradicting?
It was section 7, that approval of resolutions without meeting, it was crossed out. The reason for that, there was, prior to open meetings law existence, it was possible for the board members to vote by resolution in the past, before the open meeting law.
Okay, so now we just
It's,
fixed it,
yes,
right?
yes, we fixed
All
it,
right, it's fixed. Good,
right.
Thank you.
And the next section is designees.
Wait, hold on, where did you land on keeping section 8 or striking section 8? Because I think we need to
I think-
strike section 8.
Yeah, because
Yeah, we can
we're
strike
saying that at the meetings,
Yeah.
we should say that section 1, because it's fundamental that we follow open meetings law. So I think at section Article 3, meetings, at section 1, before we even said the word meetings, we should say all meetings of the board of directors shall comply with, shall be consistent with the New York Public Officers Article, Law,
Okay,
Article
so
7.
You can strike section.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
take this,
You can strike section 8
let's
and
just strike it.
and put the last sentence in Article 3, section 1, on top of it. here. This all meetings of the board should be here. All meetings shall be consistent, and we're saying, and then we discuss the meetings. And we just strike this entire section because it's redundant. It's exactly the same that we already said.
Yeah,
in
but
the-
then the question is, do we even need that sentence? Do we even need that?
Yes, I would honestly, I would still put it because in question, when we are missing something regarding notices, resolutions, we can always, or video conferencing, I would put it here because we do not discuss video conferencing here in detail.
Okay.
That's why, because Battery Park City, for example, put the entire section on video conferencing from open meetings, which keeps changing. And when I spoke to Committee on Open Government, they told me that the reference to the, specifically regarding the video conferencing, they told me that the reference to the open meeting law that we are following it will suffice. No need to go into detail. So I suggest in Section Article 3 meetings, it's a crucial big law that we follow pertaining to the conduct of the meetings, resolution, notices, executive session, or video conferences that comes from the open meetings law. And we need to say it to us at the very onset when we start discussing the meetings.
Can I see your copy? I just need the language, yeah, thank you.
Okay. We're striking section 8 because.
Yep, struck section A.
Okay, then we have Article 4, Section 1. I have questions about the changes to officer titles that would seem to alter the very structure of RIAC. I believe Lada said that she had questions or concerns too.
I'm sorry, Conway took my.
Yeah, one second.
I don't know who we're talking about. No, this one I have. I don't have the actual.
This?
Yes.
Okay.
Article 4.
I suggest that this be
Okay.
reviewed by outside counsel for consistency with public authorities law and existing contracts or agreements that might reference existing titles and that a larger conversation be held so that we all understand what all of this means. All right, so what happened was we added in COO, right? Because COO had not been in there before?
No, we
No?
did have, we have chief fiscal officer, but.
Instead of financial.
Yeah, we officially, all the resolutions, and even when Drew was appointed, it says chief fiscal officer, not chief financial officer. I think but it's not correct to say we will have one officer, president, CFO. These are officers of the corporation. Vice presidents are officers of the corporation. So this entire section with the members or the senior members or officers need to be reviewed and, yeah. So, shall be the chairperson as provided in the Act, the president, chief executive officer. We should remove this word one officer. The president, chief executive officer, and then CEO, 3 vice presidents, controller, it says / internal controls officer, but it's not the same because controller, internal controls officer, it's not the same position. It's a separate, and it's different parts of,
Two different
yes.
Right.
And I don't know why the secretary was removed, or maybe.
Was the secretary removed?
Is the general counsel the secretary?
Most of the time,
Can
yes,
be.
but can be, but it's not
I don't know.
necessarily. It could be any member, or most likely from legal department.
Where was the secretary removed?
I see
I don't-
general counsel.
It's
after
crossed out, the
internal controls
secretary, the
officer.
assistant secretary. The 3 vice presidents of the corporation shall be chief financial officer instead of chief fiscal officer, chief operations officer, and general counsel. I don't know what happened to treasurer, because I think in Drew's case, chief financial officer was.
CFO is treasurer.
was
It says that in
actually-
another section.
Yes. But again, controller and internal controls officer, 2 separate positions governed by separate, different laws. Shall be done by a majority vote of the board. Of course, it's by majority of votes.
So we need two separate people, controller and internal controls officer?
Internal
They're
controls,
two
two
separate
separate
jobs.
people.
yes, it's
They're two
different
different jobs,
position.
totally
Internal
So we
different
controls
need to
law.
change it.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know why it says slash, it should say,
Yeah.
It's absolutely two
Yeah.
different positions, yes.
and the controller, comma, internal control officer, comma.
Controller works in fiscal department, and it looks at the financial portion. Internal controls officer report to the president of the chief executive officer, and also works with audit committee, internal controls officer, and there's state finance, for agencies, state finance law governs internal controls officer appointment, but for public authorities, it's governed by public authorities law, and our internal controls officers are appointed by board resolution.
Is the internal controls officer a vice president?
No,
No,
because
no,
I don't know.
I didn't think so. It
No,
didn't seem
internal
to say that
controls
here,
officer
yeah.
is, yeah.
It's totally separate, that's what I thought.
All right, so make it a comma in between controller
Correct,
and internal
controls
controls
officer.
So
And
then
do
we
we
cannot
still
say
need-
it's three, because now
Yeah.
it's not three.
But there,
No,
This
but-
section needs to be actually
Yeah,
reviewed,
sure.
because
It's gotta be
there's a total
redone.
mess here, honestly, this.
Well, the three vice
Yeah.
presidents are general counsel, CFO, and COO.
Yeah,
So
Correct.
there's
that's it,
eight.
Yes.
that
Correct.
should be it, three vice presidents.
Yeah, but then before it says the corporation shall, be provided in the act as the president CEO, the three vice presidents, the controller. Okay, so take and out, make it a comma, so three vice presidents, comma, the controller, comma, the internal controls officer, comma. Do you want it to put in secretary or assistant secretary?
We need to have a secretary,
But the
because it's the
secretary-
law, yes, the
But isn't-
secretary is an important position, because the secretary reports to the board.
What is the, remind me, Lada, what is there's a provision in the enabling legislation that says what the officers that the board can create, and it's very limiting. And so I don't think we can get into like comptroller and internal controls officer and other things in our bylaws. I don't think that that's.
Yes, I think internal controls officer, I shouldn't, that's why actually, Mr. Peter said we need to verify
Yeah, let me look
against
that up.
our bylaws. Not bylaws, enabling legislation.
Does anyone actually have the title secretary, or do people just act as the secretary?
At Drake's case, the general counsel served as a secretary to the board
So then we
historically.
should say
but-
that. We should say the general counsel
We
will
can say
serve as
this, yes.
secretary.
Do we say that when is there an area where that describes it? I don't know. Secretary.
Yeah, maybe that's why we
Yeah,
took out
it's-
treasurer, because the CFO is listed as a treasurer in a
But we
different
also,
section.
we
But you know
also do that
what?
with secretary, it seems, when
But
we
I
talk
think
about
in-
sections of vice presidents. The general counsel shall serve as secretary to the board. It's in there, I don't know if that's what you want, but that is in there already.
Oh, yeah, it is, in
Right.
section
Right.
5, it says
Yeah.
general counsel shall serve as secretary to the board.
Yes, yes.
And then it
secretary-
says the CFO controller shall serve as treasurer.
Yes, because in this introductory section, we just list these offices, and then we talk about the
Right.
functions and duties.
So, yeah,
Yes.
so we can,
You wanna leave that alone then?
yeah, leave that alone.
So then we would just say, the officers in the corporation, of the corporation, whatever, shall be the chairperson as provided in the act, the president/CEO, or chief executive officer,
Mhm.
the three vice presidents,
And you're getting rid of the fiscal, what was that?
Yeah, chief
Chief
fiscal officer.
fiscal officer.
Yeah.
You wanna be
Mhm.
chief financial.
Yeah, I'm chief financial.
Okay.
I was hired as
better.
chief financial, I was
That's
appointed as chief
enough.
financial.
No, because if you look at the
Mhm.
resolution, I think it says chief fiscal officer.
No, it's financial, I read it. Okay.
Okay, I will check that, because we
So it would
we
be-
reference section of
Okay.
bylaws in your appointment.
So Conway, we have this? The officers in the corporation shall be the chairperson as provided in the act, the president/CEO, comma,
Mhm,
three vice presidents,
mhm.
comma, the controller, and internal controls officer, period. Okay?
Weren't Conway and Lotta just talking about removing internal controls
Yeah, I
officer
thought that.
based on Morris's, comments?
Is that like the outside audit
Mhm.
person? I don't know.
Yeah, internal controls officer, I'm not even sure it's
Mhm.
considered officer on corporation for this purpose.
Correct, exactly.
Yeah.
Even though he is kind of appointed, or she is appointed by the board by resolution. So I need to check this, because again, it was not here originally.
Yeah. Well, we just make a general comment to this section
Okay?
for review.
So it says, then afterwards will be the appointment of the president/CEO, the 3 vice presidents, comma, the controller, comma, and internal controls officer. So to be done by the majority of the board by resolution.
Because it's not correct, say, the CFO president shall appoint all other officers. What are the officers? It's the board that, if they want to have officers.
All other staff?
Yes, it's not other officers, and we
Okay,
talk
all
about
other-
this,
Yeah.
about presidents
Yes,
and functions in a different section.
All right, so the CEO president shall appoint all other staff.
We have a separate section for the president and his role in appointing or
So you're saying it might not even be necessary?
You're supposed to take it out then?
yes, we have section
That's
four,
it,
president,
right.
chief executive
Mhm.
officer, and officer performs
That's
all
fine,
the duties. If you
great,
wanna,
so take it out.
it's understood that the president, and president do not appoint all other officers. President hires people, executive
Yes.
team hires people, they don't appoint.
That's correct. Yeah.
Appointment,
I
it
think
comes
if
from
we
the,
correct that later on,
yeah, that's.
because I remember we had that discussion.
Yeah, we did have
All
that.
right, so take it out, the CEO president shall appoint all the officers, just take it out, okay?
Mhm.
Are you up there?
I'm I was making a comment, so I missed whatever you guys were saying. Section
Okay.
two.
The section here, the CEO president shall appoint all other officers.
In section 1, it's the
Or
second to last
deputies of
question.
Yeah, we have it as part of the
Last.
functioning.
Third
It's
to
not
last.
the president, it's the board may appoint other officers, if the board decides, now we want to have more officers, not offices, yes, with
So
R.
just take it
And
out.
yes.
Striking the whole sentence, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, all right, done. Let me finish this comment.
Okay.
Yes. I don't know why we removed section 2, election and terms of office. Was it originally there? And by the way, Mr. Peters suggested that outside counsel review this for consistency with state, federal law, and collective bargaining agreement.
Okay. Section 8. Let's go back onto section 8.
Okay.
Where are we?
Section 8,
Treasurer.
on page 11, right here.
No, that's,
No, page 11.
I
Yeah,
was
page
waiting.
But by the
Yeah,
way,
that's right,
we removed the word section 3 and make it a section 2. We didn't finish this, removal officers by directors. That's actually important section. When the directors appointed office, the directors appoint officers of the corporation, president, CFO, COO, they also have the right to remove them. If you appoint someone by resolution, you also have the right to remove them by resolution.
mm-hmm.
And here it
But
says
that,
the
I think that's
president
why we took
shall,
section 2 out, because they're not elected. They
All
were referring to
other
four
officers.
people.
Yeah, it's in section, actually.
no, it's
three-
actually
it's in part
changed the
section 2,
language.
yeah.
It says the president shall remove all other officers, non-union of the authority, except for, so these are, we are talking about powers of the board. The board appoints
I'm
officers.
totally lost now. Where,
So
what are
with
we
the
looking
Right
at?
here,
What page?
section 3 on page 8.
See, they removed, it says section
Okay.
3
Yeah.
removed,
Oh,
but
so
it
we
now
would-
becomes
but how'd we
section
get by
2.
this one? How'd
So
we
what
get by
we
this?
need to do is change it so that it's consistent. The language is inconsistent, that's what you're saying, right?
Yes, and that's what Mr.
Okay.
Peters pointed out, because the board appoints or approves the officers of the corporation, president, CFO, COO, general counsel.
Okay.
The board may remove them by resolution. And here we crossed out this section and we said that the president shall remove
Okay,
all
so-
other officers. There's no other officers. She
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
stop
I think
them
they
from-
meant
Well,
So
staff.
Conway,
Which section are you in?
Conway, you see
This
where
is
it says
page
section
8,
two?
It's section 2 because they cross out section 3.
Okay, so take out,
It shouldn't say the president, it should say
Yes.
the
take
board.
out, no, just
The
take out
director.
that whole
Exactly.
sentence. Take out the whole first sentence.
Okay, look at the screen. This is what we have.
Yeah, I can't read the screen. I gotta
Oh my
look
God,
at-
this is horrible. Yeah.
I think we're all looking at different
Yeah.
paragraphs.
Well, I think you guys are working off of the 2010 red line is the, also.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's the same. You know, I'm looking at this to see
Okay,
what
so
was changed, you know,
section 2.
to
Can
make
you go
sure.
to the top of section 2, Conway? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
There we go. Removal
Okay.
of officers by director. Yep,
So the
So
section,
you take out the president, CEO shall
Yep.
remove.
correct. We have to
because
remove-
we're talking, the section is named removal of officers by
By
directors.
director.
Why we
So
talk about
Take out the
president?
president, CEO sentence,
Okay.
down to board, the board.
That's ooh, okay.
Okay, take it out.
Okay.
And then it's, the removal of the chief CEO and vice president shall be done by majority vote of the board
Okay.
by resolution.
Yeah,
And that's good.
and I don't think resolution is a defined term.
Okay,
No, I think it's, no, that's important. It's, we just not only vote, there is a resolution appointing. I mean, if you appoint, it's a resolution, but if you fire, you don't need a resolution for firing, for some reason. But I think
Of
we
course you
never
do.
actually did this.
Don't you? I would think
I
you
don't
do.
think we ever fired any.
We never did fire anybody.
Yes, that's why
So-
we did.
Well, we say, if we appoint by resolution, I think we should.
Yeah, it should
we
be, yes, by resolution, yes. Whenever in
remove
its
by
judgment, the
resolution.
best
That's done.
interest of the corporation will be served, yeah.
I think you have to add comptroller to be consistent with when you're appointing officers. I think you're missing the comptroller and the internal control officer.
yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
should be controller, because not internal controls officer.
No, I know you're looking into that, but you still have it in the appointment, like the board of directors can appoint,
Yes,
you know, the VPs as well as the comptroller and,
So if
internal.
you do
so-
one, you have to do
Yeah,
the
for
other.
the other, yeah, so then
It has to
they
be
could
both.
also, yeah, it has to be consistent with appointing and terminating.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So can we say any
But-
officer appointed by the board can be removed by the board by resolution?
That's
Yeah,
probably
that's-
an easier
yeah,
way to.
that's
put it.
easy, yes,
yeah,
perfect.
this is how it
That's
was.
perfect.
Originally, the board appoints and the
Yeah,
board
Yeah,
removes.
it's really just,
And
They give it, they
president-
take it away, right?
And president hires
Get it
other
once in
people who
order.
are not
Yeah.
considered officers in the meeting, for the meeting of the.
Yeah.
and then that
bylaws.
last sentence, all other employees shall be
All
hired
right,
and
so take
removed.
out the whole thing and say any officers appointed by the board can be removed by the board.
Yeah.
I think that works.
By resolution.
They can or shall?
Shall,
Shall.
shall. Good,
Get
done.
tripped up on that again.
Yeah, I know, no.
Oh, that shall be appointed, yes.
Yes.
Maybe, yes.
Okay, all right, so onward?
Mhm.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you.
I think we need the- I think we need the only here, just shall be done,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna go, let's see, section 2, I suggest outside counsel review this for consistency,
Mhm.
so we'll just go on. I think section 8, I think the goal
Okay.
here in advance of final presentation of the budget meeting is a line that doesn't make sense, so we're going to 8,
It's on page 11, it's compensation.
compensation. Okay, the powers, duties, and compensation of any of the officers and employees shall be fixed by the board subject to the provisions of applicable law, union contract, and these bylaws.
Union contracts, we don't establish compensation for union contracts, you know, that's union.
Well, that's what this
That's
says.
what it
Subject to the.
Subject to,
says. The
Subject to
board,
union.
subject to their,
Yeah.
Yeah,
to the,
There's
to
a
the award, to the
recognition
union
that
contract.
obviously.
Okay,
So we
but
approve the budget, the.
also for compensation, there is actually a separate policy for senior management, compensation that is established by the board. We have a separate policy
Really?
specifically for this, yes.
Okay, sounds to me.
It's here, yes.
Well, these are things that,
Which already says, that's why by resolution you establish the compensation. So to, applicable laws and these bylaws.
does that come up with the audit committee, I guess?
Yes, correct.
So the reason why
All
it said
adjustments.
in advance of final presentation of budget meeting.
Okay, all this, like, honestly, this, including off-cycle raises, I don't think it should be here, I don't know.
Okay, so,
Well, what is Morris saying? He's saying in advance of the final.
He says that,
It doesn't make sense. He's
Just-
saying that line doesn't make
Just
sense.
this part right
Yeah,
here.
final presentation of the
uh-huh,
Which one, I'm sorry?
budget.
On the screen, what I've highlighted here,
Okay.
just that part is what we have the problem with.
Well, you all on the audit and budget, like,
Mhm.
Drew, Lydia,
so what do you think?
defer to.
How should we word this?
Yes, let me just think about it.
section 8, I think.
Should it include union and non-union salaries if it's, collective? You're looking at the whole corporation.
I think it
No, but it's subject to you,
says,
so we have no control over that.
shall be fixed by board subject to revisions of applicable laws, union contracts.
A detailed report of salaries of all non-union staff members, I think it would include union as well.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, currently, yes.
Oh, union
Our
and
personal
non-union.
staffing budget does include union and non-union staff members. But I see why we're saying non-union, because in the first sentence, we say union.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm. Policy revenue officers.
I guess,
We could say at the, budget presentation during the audit committee meeting.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It shouldn't say final presentation, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
It
final
should just say,
presentation.
do you have an
I think
annual
that's why,
meeting?
I think that's why he has an
Is
issue.
there
It's
an
not-
annual meeting, or, I don't know, what you guys do,
It's
but he's
kind of
right.
pre-
final
it's-
It's
presentation.
not a
before.
final
Like your
presentation,
thesis.
so I see where he's coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could just say presentation of the budget meeting at the audit committee,
Okay.
of the budget at the audit committee meeting.
But the board also gets a presentation prior
Correct,
to
they
a
do.
final one,
Yeah,
at a board meeting.
so we could add
So
both,
we
audit
can-
and board.
And board.
Mhm.
okay, well, so see if this works, what we have currently.
To
Could
read
you
it.
just say
You want me
as
to-
part of the budget?
Sorry?
Instead of, couldn't you just include it and just say, must be presented to the board as part of the budget? Instead of trying to,
Where do you want to insert that, Megan?
no, I mean, there's a lot of wording here that I just, maybe it's a little too much, is all I'm saying, and
Mhm.
just say, where it says, along with any proposed adjustments must be presented to the board as part of the budget presentation,
Okay.
instead of
So-
being so specific
presented-
about when and where the committee sees it and the majority of the board see it. It's just an
So
addendum
take
to
out
to the
anthem
budget.
And put in as part of the budget presentation. So
Mhm.
take out final.
Yeah, take out final.
And then you see final presentation, take out final presentation of the budget, and there's like a period after that, but get rid of that period, and then at the audit and board meetings.
I have a question, does it mean that now any salary of any employee other than the officers must be approved by the board? So the senior management cannot, approve promotion of something, which means that the board decides on any raises, but it's, the board should.
That's
They do
correct.
anyway.
Yeah.
Should it be reviewed or
Yeah.
decided?
It's for review.
I don't
Yeah.
know, for review,
Exactly, because of the investigation issues we've had in the past,
yeah.
going forward, they need to review. Yes, any promotions, any raises, including the standard 3% merit increase as well as the 2% COLA.
So then does it have to be reviewed? Because does approved make that more of the board opining on staff performance for staff that's not being overseen?
I think it's salary, right?
It's
about the budget,
Is it, so
let's
is
be
it,
honest.
Yeah.
right, yeah, so is it a matter of presenting or?
Also,
Well,
performance
it-
evaluations are conducted within the corporation, your manager evaluates you, so now this needs
Well,
to
yeah,
be-
there's a lot of language here, because performance evaluation happens like at the end of our fiscal year. So there's, you know, a different process at that time, where we're reviewing raises and salaries.
I think what they
And-
put in here, I think they said here with any off-cycle ones have to be approved by the board,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So they're looking at any special
Which is-
circumstances that wasn't an annual
think-
kind of thing.
But
because
what's
there were
off
some issues.
cycle?
Yeah.
What
And
constitutes
we're not-
off-cycle?
We're not trying to make anything off-cycle anymore, we're trying to make it consistent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, they're,
Just 1 year during the
Yeah,
fiscal
well,
year.
yeah, everybody got the raises at one time at
Mhm.
budget time, but then in the past, there were
Also.
some people who
Mhm.
got raises at different
That's
times
right,
during the
in the
year.
past they did.
And what the
Point is,
board is saying, if there's anything like that again, they want to
It
review
should be
it.
reviewed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's oversight, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not unusual.
Yeah.
But that's if any
Mhm.
staff person, any one that's not even an officer has to go to the board then?
Because, yes, and employees, not
Any
only
non-union
officers.
employee.
If any officers
Yes,
and
because I
employees-
think on an overall, you just have to look at the organization as a whole, because most people will receive the 5%, which is the 3% merit and 2% performance. If they don't receive it,
I will-
then we have to report that to the budget director, but if anything's beyond that,
And I
it's
think
a
that's
promotion.
great, but Megan, I'm sure you know, I'm a state worker, and that's not assumed. I don't get that kind, I'm not saying that it
I'm
should
not, I'm
happen
not
here.
talking about that.
But there's nothing
what-
unusual about the board reviewing things like that.
I mean more of a, like, what's a salary adjustment, I guess? Is that a promotion included in that?
Yes.
What does that mean? It does include a promotion. So just for example, a non-union accountant gets a promotion to senior accountant. The board has to approve that now. That seems ridiculous to me. The board should not be approving promotions and hires at a level that
I think
low in the.
it's salaries,
Can I-
right?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's-
people
it's
get
the
promoted
salary.
That's
with salary.
micromanaging the staff of the
Salary.
corporation.
I
At the officer
Okay,
level,
agree.
Speaking as
Yes,
someone
it
who
is.
got subpoenaed by the DA's office when I was on the board,
Mm-hmm.
and I showed up and they had all of our budgets laid out on the table, and they asked me about all these individual raises that people got. I knew nothing about them. They were year-end things, and I knew nothing about them.
I mean, the board has a
And
fiduciary
I felt like my
responsibility.
oversight was crap.
And also,
Well,
Megan, I
it
think we
wasn't.
need
There
to
was somebody who
protect
got
ourselves
a lot more
as
money than I
staff
should have gotten.
to make sure we're transparent about
Right,
these
yeah.
promotions, raises,
Wait,
so we're
you
sort of not.
you can include in the report a list of the individual salaries and potential, like, growth for the upcoming year. And that's reported in there, and that's fine. I don't think it, like, non-officer HR actions should be coming to the board. That's the work of the corporation. That's micromanagement. I think it's,
Yeah, no,
you can
I think
approve
we
the
agree
budget and you
with
can approve the total salaries
I
to
know.
be spent for the year.
Yeah,
And then the corporation staff can manage that to that budget. That's how
I
every.
think it should be as
Hold on a
a
sec,
whole.
stop. Margie has brought up a point that's important to every single board member. If we are going to be held accountable to any investigation for any salary increase in a court of law, then we need to know.
No, we should,
Okay, you're
we
gonna
should
know. There's
not
gonna be
be
a list in the
accountable.
budget
Yes,
of
only for
salary
executive,
and
only
proposed
for
Do
increases.
you not have
No,
a,
only if we took action.
does the board have a fiduciary responsibility as a public benefit corporation?
To the officers, yes, to
Officers,
do
yeah, I
promotions below the officer level, no.
So who is it, so the
I
officers
think
are the
there's
vice
something that's
president?
redundant, then when I mean employees' salaries as a whole, and
So,
The officers are the
report to
president
board
and the vice president.
Officers handle their staff, like,
Right,
We should
without
not
getting
be
into
doing
attorney-client
staff
privilege.
level work.
Wait, hold
We
on,
were,
wait, stop,
we
stop.
were just advised on this at the last month's meeting. The too long didn't read, of that is that board directors should not be involved at that lower level of hiring and promotion, because that is then action that we take that can make us liable as board directors. That should be
On management.
bifurcated at the officer level.
Okay,
Yes.
so what you're saying is when they asked Margie about it, when she was being subpoenaed,
Mhm.
then they should not have held her responsible for it?
Nope.
When they did?
No, that's not something that the board does, so the board should not be liable for
We're
that.
just saying that's the president who appoints and assigns, like, and it's.
So who are the
management.
officers? Can we clarify again who the officers
so-
are? I'd like to hear.
CEO, CFO,
COO,
COO.
Yeah.
General counsel.
And president, okay, so
And GC,
those
yeah.
salaries, the board has some review of.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the HR director
No,
or
but, you know, obviously comptroller, but, you know, now we have assistant vice presidents, right? So, you know, if they're gonna get a $20,000 increase, you know, I think
Right.
that is something
Right.
you
That
also.
should, one person had gotten 3
No,
raises
if
during
there-
the years,
you know,
and we knew
the
nothing
budget
about
here
it.
is
And it just got lost in the whole budget,
Exactly.
because we looked at it as much at
Because
a
then it's
macro
gonna
level.
come back
Then the
to haunt
officers of
us,
the
and why did
corporation
you
should
do-
have caught that, and then they should have been accountable
should
to the
have, yeah.
board.
correct.
Right, but they didn't,
but
and we as board
should not
didn't
have-
know about
we
it.
should not- But the board should not be approving mid-level management at all, in any
Correct.
way.
Right.
I agree.
But for legal
And I don't know of
purposes.
any other board that
Yeah.
is doing that.
Absolutely not, no, other than.
Well, maybe approve is not the right,
Right,
but at least review,
Review. We
you
didn't
know.
say
But
approve,
it
we
Yeah.
said
should be
review.
included,
That's what the
you need
report
to
is,
know.
that's the
But
review.
we have to.
So
Mhm.
what's
I wouldn't
what
even,
part
I
of the
wouldn't even
report
put,
isn't enough for you?
yeah, I wouldn't even put with review, because what that then does is subjects the board of directors to liability that they shouldn't be subjected to.
I think the Office of State Controller has the guidelines for public authorities when they say that the employee's personnel compensation also needs to be presented to the board, but presented just as a part of,
Yes,
but not for like making decision on any.
Yeah, I
Correct.
think that's what he's saying,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
exactly.
Yeah, if that's what you meant, then
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Then I'm-
He's not
then I
saying
agree.
this person should,
Yeah.
he's saying should be presented and reviewed, even
Yeah.
if it's a general,
Exactly.
this is how much this
Mhm.
department is, this,
Right.
I mean, that's,
Yes.
So we're in
that
agreement.
needs to be
Yeah.
fiduciary
We're in
over.
agreement. Let's make it so we're in agreement.
So wait, just so I understand, so if someone gets promoted, let's say a manager to a director, how does that work? That comes to the board at the next board meeting? That this manager is
After the
promoted to
promotion.
director?
No, we shouldn't have input on that.
It just says you were promoted, like when you were promoted from one position to the next. Susan Rosenthal came and said, you were promoted from this to this, and it was captured in the board minutes. And that's fine.
But it's, again, it depends on the position.
Yes, correct.
It
Mhm.
depends on the position.
Okay.
Mhm.
It's only only officers corporations, it's the board's determination of the salary, approval, firing, and the mid-level, that's president with HR, who are managers, overseeing this stuff, doing performance evaluation, recommending.
Yes, but everything should happen, you know, consistently during our performance evaluation period. There should be no off-cycle, you know, raises or promotions. We're trying to get to a, you know, a process here.
You know, off-cycle promotional is some
Wait, so
very
promotions
recent-
would only happen once a year?
Yes.
All right, okay. That doesn't sound right to me,
Yeah,
but.
if you have someone that's performing the role or filling in a role that's been vacant for a period of time. You know, so let's say the financial, calendar starts April 1, so let's say the position is vacated in, June of the previous year. So now this person fulfilling that role, performing those duties, has to wait
I don't think,
until the following
No.
fiscal year in order to be promoted? Because that's,
Yeah,
No, I think you're
Mary's
saying they
point
could
is
be
pretty good. Like,
promoted.
what if somebody leaves and you want to promote someone internally to fill that gap? You can't now. You have to wait until the performance evaluation period's
Well,
over.
yeah, no, there's
people are we
exceptions, like
talking?
That
Lada,
doesn't
like
make
Lada
sense.
had to replace, Gerald, right?
I'm not prepared to take a
I know, not yet.
No, no, but
But
that's
yes, there's
something-
exceptions,
Yeah.
yes.
It's a process.
Mm-hmm.
That's a new hire.
Okay,
almost.
you're just all making this sound very finite, that it's only once a year that.
How many
promotions
people are we
Off-cycle
talking here? We have, what,
promotion.
100 employees in REAC?
an off-cycle.
How many of them are
138.
union? Okay, how many are union?
Yeah, I just think it helps when we're doing it on a yearly basis if we can, because you're kind of looking at the overall numbers of the organization. You have a history, you'll have, numbers of what this person's making and what we're looking to pay them.
A person getting a promotion into a vacant spot is
Mhm.
not the same as someone getting a bump up,
Correct.
a merit increase or something
Yes,
like that.
correct.
That
But
person
that
is
would be an
moving to a vacant
off-cycle
spot.
raise.
It
to
all
me,
affects the
based
budget.
on
But I
that.
can imagine, wait a second, wait a finish.
You would,
Finish
that
what
wouldn't
you-
that be considered off-cycle raise?
No, it's a vacancy. An internal person is getting a vacant spot
Yes,
that's now vacant.
correct.
It's just an
Making sure. I
internal
just want,
hire.
I don't want like this kind of restriction on promotions and salary increases and stuff to have a negative effect on staff morale. If they think they're only going to get options for promotions or advancement in their careers at REAC once a year and
Well,
only in
welcome to
April,
the state,
that
frankly.
doesn't, hold on.
I have to speak as a
No,
state
promotions.
worker.
I'm not talking salary increases, Audrey. I know, I get them too. I know how that works, and they're also late sometimes. I get it. I'm talking about promotions. I'm talking about career advancement. I'm talking about things that aren't like, it's a little different.
Okay, how many,
And now you're
Can I- how
limiting
many-
that by saying it's once a year.
But I think if there's a vacancy, which Mary brought up, there's an opening, there's a vacancy, there's an internal person you want to promote, that's not what you're talking about, Drew.
Correct.
Putting
That's
up.
right.
You're
Right.
talking about, Drew's been here, you want to give her a bump up in salary for merit, and that only can happen in February
Mhm.
for everyone across the board.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean if there's a vacancy, some internal person who's worthy
Right.
can't be promoted in
Mhm.
April.
Mhm.
Yeah, but these are not board bylaw matters.
No, but
Mhm.
Drew, as here,
Right.
as an HR person, bringing this up, and as a budget person, that she would like to.
right.
I'm just trying to
We're
create
saying
a
that we're
process
gonna-
here.
But we should have.
And where, we have at least the board's involvement and we have transparency, in any, changes we're making to people's salaries. Not that you have to approve it, but that at least we've discussed it.
I honestly.
Okay, so change the word.
Because again, we've had
Approved
issues
review.
with the investigation, in the past.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Change the
There
word
are
approved
exceptions that
review.
should come to the board for approval. Because they're aside from the normal way of doing business, aside from a normal promotion from
And
somebody
it's the
who's
board, but
filling in
you
or
are
something.
all state workers.
It shouldn't be
too,
somebody
at
getting a
your-
merit increase in
Yeah,
the middle
I
of the
mean,
year.
this is, the state does not.
So how does that come to the board? Does it come as a resolution? Does it come as a?
No,
How does it-
A review.
Yeah,
To the
well, it
budget.
comes part of the budget now, and then, during the performance evaluation period in March and April, once those performance evaluations are done, if we feel that someone deserves a raise outside of the normal increase in the COLA, then, that's something we want to bring up to the board. Mhm.
Great, so there's
Right.
nothing wrong with budgeting for increases for everyone across the board. That's normal practice.
Done that.
And that's what should be in the budget, and that's what the report should identify, that these are planned.
Correct. We've done.
And then the future, period for when the evaluations are over will be assessed on if everyone should get that. That's standard practice. But
Yeah,
boards
and that's what we
reviewing
want
and
to do.
approving mid-level to lower level HR transactions is not consistent.
Yeah.
I think
I
what
don't
we're
think
saying
that's
is
what she's
exceptions
saying.
to the norm.
Mhm.
When someone has got a merit increase, and we're giving them another merit increase 6 months later, and they haven't changed jobs or gotten a promotion in the normal range of business, we want to know why.
Well, I think that has to be forecast into the budget, the annual budget.
It
And
is
it-
Yeah.
forecasted.
You
Right,
can't do
I'm
that if
talking
you're-
something that wasn't
If
forecasted.
you're doing it every 3 months, I don't know if you can
Mhm.
forecast it.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what her point is as the
Mhm.
fiscal manager.
Correct, exactly. I'm forecasting
Mhm.
the salaries based on what it's going to be for the next year.
Right.
Are we in agreement?
So if someone gets promoted in September of this year, then
Promoted into an empty,
into a vacant position,
Okay.
yeah, so then what?
They're in
how-
a new position, it's not
Yeah,
a promotion,
that's the
they've
normal
applied
course of
for, and
business,
they
that's
have a
fine.
new permission, a new position.
So does that get presented to the board?
I don't
It
think so.
depends on the position, though.
If it's an office.
Yeah,
So
and the
if
level
If someone
of
goes from
increase.
director to AVP,
Mhm,
how does that go?
mhm.
Do we have AVP?
Do you have AVP? I mean, is that an officer then, if you have AVP?
We do, we have one AVP right now, mhm. But if you're talking about like a $20,000, $30,000 salary increase, I think that's something that, I'd at least wanna talk through, not that, the board has to approve it, but,
It's a budget issue
yeah, it's a
then.
budget issue,
That's what,
correct.
Yeah.
these are budget issues.
Mhm.
So then how does that come to the board?
It would come during, when we're reviewing, at the evaluation period, at the performance evaluation period during March and April, if this person is eligible for a promotion.
Honestly, Battery Park City doesn't even have a section about how the employees are getting their compensation. It's
Well, I think
our
we're
matter.
concerned
It
about the
says-
budget.
Yeah,
The
correct.
bylaw is such a fundamental document, it's
Mhm.
about offices,
You know,
boards, the
A lot of,
meetings.
as you know, Battery Park City operates with a great surplus.
Yeah.
There is, it's Battery Park, and they have city roads, and they have, Goldman Sachs rents out space there. We unfortunately are not in that same position here in Roosevelt Island, and there's a concern about the budget going forward and some of the deferred maintenance. So, yeah, I get it, you're right, but I think this is coming out of, not for personal getting picky, who's doing what and who's getting, but the budget long-term.
Correct, it's the impact, yes.
I think, look, we want people who are doing a good job to like working here, to get paid
It's a
what they
great
deserve to
job
be
here.
paid,
I
to
will
get
tell you,
promoted
as a
when they
state
should,
worker,
to get all
let me
that.
apply.
I'm talking about anything that goes out of the norm, that's not a normal promotion, that's not filling an opening that we all knew about, that's getting a $20,000 raise when she just got one 3 months ago. That's outside the norm, and that's the stuff that the board should be looking at.
Very
I think what we're saying is though, but that should already be baked into the budget for the annual budget.
saying.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it can't be the way
So
the
that,
process is now.
and I'm just making up numbers, I'm just for the sake of argument, but if there's like $1 million set aside for promotions and, for the year,
Right.
the promotions that you guys decide, because that's not up to us, but you
Right.
officers decide,
That's perfectly
that will be
fine.
within that $1 million budget. Now, if
Right.
there's something that
And,
happens.
and there is flexibility within the budget,
Yeah.
because we do have vacancies, and there's, some positions that we may not fill.
Mhm.
So there is flexibility there. But I think we also have to decide, is this person qualified? There's a lot of questions also outside of just, pay.
And those are
Exactly.
human resource about,
Mhm,
but I think that's true, most places operate, there are a lot of wonderful people, this is how much we have available for the raises,
Mhm.
and therefore we have to consider who gets what
Right.
this year, I don't know that that's.
And then we have to look at what is the starting
Not
salary
everyone-
of, for
sorry,
example,
yeah.
Mary mentioned AVP. What is
Tell
the
you.
starting salary for that person? Is this person already
Nothing.
making that?
Right, totally.
So all those types of questions.
Right, totally on board with that, but I think getting back to this.
Yeah, why don't we
what
focus
we're
on
saying
this?
is-
Yes.
Yeah, getting back to
is
this.
that we as a board don't want to be weighing in every
No.
time somebody gets a
No,
promotion.
not at
No, we
all.
don't.
That's not what
Mhm.
that's what we are entrusting the officers to do.
Mhm.
It's sort of- You guys are the boots on the ground.
Correct,
Um,
budget.
Okay,
Mhm.
so I like that.
Yes.
Are we in agreement? Reviewed by the board.
Well, I don't know, Conway, what do you think, is it really more of a, I don't know, it's really about the budget, not about the particular person.
Correct, it's
or
not,
the
exactly. I'm looking at an
promotion.
overall
It is about
basis.
an overall budget issue,
Correct.
and this is how much we can really afford
Mhm.
as a corporation
Of course.
in salary increases,
Mhm.
not new
And
hires
especially
or vacant
because
apartments.
we've increased the number of employees now, because we were understaffed in certain departments, so the budget's already,
Yeah.
gone significantly higher.
Well, that's a really important
Mhm.
issue.
Mhm.
What did we have originally here?
It said approved, no changes to review.
Oh, no, I mean in the 2010 bylaws.
This is just one sentence.
Just,
And everything else you added and elaborated,
yeah.
but I think overkill and it's not necessary.
That's
but
what I
can-
thought, because I was just thinking like how have we operated for decades,
Yeah, because
and address this issue, and the
Yeah.
answer
I don't know if it has
is, we
been.
don't address the issue.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like the
Concern
general,
about
the
the
DA and
budget.
everybody else, that's how we've
We're not
operated.
addressing the issue.
Right.
A lot of this information, from the time I stepped on the board, was
Mhm.
not presented to me. And I didn't know that it was supposed to be presented to me. So I think it's important to delineate what should be presented.
It's really a budget issue, it's more than it is this particular person
Or this
getting
particular promotion or
and
raise.
this person's
Yes,
getting
exactly.
$2,000, this person.
Mhm.
It is the overall budget that's
It is.
great.
Yeah, I think that's what we would want. I don't know that we need this level of specificity.
Right.
I would probably, strike all of that.
yes. I would co
No,
that.
yeah.
Because it's just too, yeah.
Yeah, we don't want a detailed report of all salaries.
Absolutely, and this report should include justification for any raises,
What's
again, for
in the budget?
every, yes.
Do you want,
Which means our president or HR and CFO don't have any say in anything.
Yeah, I don't wanna handcuff
I don't think
Drew
it
at
does.
the beginning of the year to say, project for me for the next 12 months, everyone who you think is gonna get a.
But you want-
That's what
proposed
we-
adjustment.
I think we
Exactly.
want,
We got,
Part of the
yeah.
budget process, you have to.
Yeah,
yeah, I
we
mean.
got a list every year by name,
Sure, in general, yes.
every person, every year, and then
I
that's
think the
stopped.
Senate does, I mean,
Yeah.
open secrets is all
Yeah.
of their salaries.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, we already have to
That's-
provide a
that's
report
the
on the salary. I
Okay,
mean,
so
that's
hold on
part
a
of the
second,
budget.
one person speak, I'm sorry, go ahead, Drew.
No, I was just insinuating that we do have to present a report on salaries. That is part of the budget.
Sure,
Um,
of course.
So the audit committee board members are already reviewing that, have questions, and of course, will address it to the board if there's any concerns. And then any personnel matters, I think, should be discussed at an executive session. But again, I think any promotions and raises outside of the budget discussion should be happening during the performance evaluation period. It will come up again based on what we budgeted and if we are deciding to give more than what was budgeted.
It's a
At
budget.
that time.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So it should be part of the budget presentation to the audit committee. And then eventually be presented to the board, but not necessarily the detail if
And-
there's no concerns.
Yeah, but,
If there's no concern to just go through,
Mhm.
But maybe HR has to present a projected budget for,
Yeah,
promotion,
HR
if, whatever it is, merit
Yeah.
increases.
Yeah, which is already part of the budget.
Right, we used to
Okay.
get by name, every employee.
Yes, we have
What they were
that.
gonna get, whether it was merit increase, whether it
Oh,
was cost of
okay.
living,
That's what you
whatever.
have to staff
But then
the
that
budget.
stopped.
All right, so,
Mhm.
so yeah, so I think it's okay.
So then, sorry, one more question. So
Go
if,
ahead.
so if we have this hypothetical, right, and I appreciate all the dialogue, it's helpful to understand, and I agree, I think there needs to be transparency with that, with all of that. So if we have a staff member who, their department head leaves, and, they've been performing the duties of the department head essentially for, let's say, 7 months. And it's not time for the on-cycle in March, April, when we normally do performance reviews, and this person's been performing those duties, they're filling that role. If we were to want to promote that person, into now that role, they've been performing.
Yeah.
We can do that, or
Yeah.
does
Yeah,
that have to come
absolutely.
to the
That's a
board?
big-
Not only
or
could we
is
should
it
know
a
about it and make sure the
promotion?
person's getting promoted.
Yeah.
The
That's a
board should know
vacancy,
that,
though.
make sure that
It's
stuff
a
is
vacancy,
happening.
would be an internal promotion, and
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
okay.
Just
Absolutely.
like with Lotta.
Here we go with lottery again.
Just to make clear.
I know, but we're in the
Lottery is
process.
saying, when do I get out of here?
I can say, yes, I did apply for this position, and this is a long process, so just like,
Okay,
So off-cycle promotions.
yeah.
Absolutely
but
will happen. It
that's
should
the
happen.
position.
The
Right.
vacancies,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it would require board
You
approval.
want them to fill that position.
But there's also certain factors here, you know, what is the position? Is it an executive type of position?
Right.
How much money are we talking
I mean,
about?
that's-
How long
Yeah.
have they been
Correct.
here?
And
The
you have an HR
qualifications.
department.
Exactly.
Right.
Mhm.
And maybe that's where you get into the definitions of responsibilities. Maybe
Exactly.
we need to
Mhm.
clarify this kind of thing. I don't know.
Mhm.
That's, you guys.
Well,
think
no,
better.
that's where
Yeah, I-
you budget
like I
for the
think
year for
I-
all
Yeah.
potential.
Hold on a second, Megan, what did you say? Say that
I
again.
was gonna say that that's the point of budgeting for everyone to potentially get a merit increase and their 3% or
Correct.
2% or whatever their COLA should be. And even build in potential buffers for, promotions that may happen or be needed. It is an assumption, it is a guess, the budget's not actuals. And that's where you cover yourself by preparing for that for the year forward. And if
Correct.
merits don't happen, then you can recycle those funds elsewhere or consider it a savings.
Correct.
But it's just
Yeah.
the budget. It's not actuals.
Yeah, it's just a plan,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And plus, you have to look at what the starting salary is for that position that you're moving them up to. Are they already making that?
Right.
Comparable
You know, yeah.
salaries too.
Mhm.
And so, Megan, question for you. Should all salary adjustments, detailed reports of salaries, all these things, should these be coming to the board?
I don't
the
see an
audit-
issue
If they
with a
don't go
report.
outside if they,
Audit committee.
here, let me append.
It's reviewed.
If
by
they
the
don't go
audit committee.
outside of the budget, does the board need to see this?
We saw it as part of the budget.
I think the board only needs to see for the officers, but I seem to be in the
Right.
minority on that opinion.
So the thing is, it needs to be presented to the audit committee.
Yes.
Audit
Correct.
committee actually does not, like, they have other functions, they're not reviewing
but-
salary.
No, but they're
we used to get
reviewing the
a-
budget overall, and
Doesn't
they're
the-
reviewing
I'm
the
sorry,
the
can I just
staffing
ask a
budget.
question? Can I ask a question? Doesn't this type of salary report have to go to the authority budget office in the Paris report anyway?
Oh, yes, exactly,
Yeah.
Megan,
So,
but in the
so it's
Paris
already a
report,
report that's
it's
presented to the
here.
board for review. So I don't think it's necessary to do it twice.
Yes, and it's also reviewed by Morris Peters, the budget director. We've already, reviewed that on a separate occasion. And then the audit committee now has reviewed it. And if they obviously want to communicate any thoughts from the personnel budget, they'll certainly bring it up at the board meeting in their report.
At the next audit meeting.
Mm-hmm. Well, at the board meeting, because we just had an audit committee meeting.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Read it again. All right, so do you want to take that out?
Yeah, I would pretty much kill all of this here.
Okay, so that's fine to kill as long as we have, we don't even need this report should include justification side raises on performance evaluations if you can take it out. You can take the entire thing out. But the thing is, like I said, this is as long as we have a functioning board. So what I'm saying is that when I was first seated on the audit committee and I was presented with all these reports, one of the reports that I did not get was salary.
You're right.
I did not get the salary report at all.
And that's,
And it wasn't until.
can I just ask one?
And that's when I
Is it
started.
possible you
asked
came
for it,
on the
and I-
board after it was already shared? Like, I guess, wasn't it the middle of the year when you were appointed?
I was appointed in
Got on. Is
June.
it possible? I'm just saying, is it possible it wasn't an omission and not provided, you just came on after it was already shared?
Well, you've had a full cycle now, Lydia,
I've
right?
had a whole full cycle now, and I asked for it, and that's why I got it, because I asked for it. So that's why.
Well, I just remember when I had started,
Mhm.
you had asked
I
me
asked
for it.
Yeah, I asked
And
for it.
I provided you, and you said, thank you so much, because nobody has provided
Yeah.
this to me in the
Mhm.
past. I guess it was
Because
requested in
we
the
went
past.
through an entire review, so when I stepped on the board, they gave me, 600 pages of financials that I had to read by the day after sitting on the board meeting. So I was up all night reading
Oh.
these financials, and none of these financials had salaries in it.
Yeah, because it's financials, but.
Well, but what part of the budget is
Harris
personnel?
report,
One of the
uh,
biggest
And
reports.
I mean, salary
I'm
comes
sure it's
first.
part of the
The
financial.
Yeah.
Harris report has annual compensation
But I
for
mean,
senior management.
It
It does,
is,
it is there in
Mhm.
annual
But-
report.
But I didn't get it.
But it's in the, it's an
Mhm.
annual report, this is a part of the annual report. It's
And I
part-
read
it's
through
posted
every
on the
line.
RIC
trying
website.
to, I
I'm
mean, I
just
think
saying,
the
I'm
point
just
is
saying.
that it's a big part of the budget,
Mhm.
and people deserve to be compensated, people deserve benefits, but Drew, what is the percentage of the budget that is, personnel, salary, benefits, all those things?
That's half the budget.
I was
Well,
just gonna
so
say,
it
it's
matters
half.
as a
It's
budget
I mean,
issue.
we're talking about,
We're talking about
you're talking
personnel.
about $39
budget
million,
issue.
$40 million in
It's a
expenses,
budget
$20
issue.
million in
That's the
salaries and
bottom.
benefits.
That's,
Yeah.
I don't know what the best
Yeah.
way for the board to look at it as a
Way
budget
higher
issue.
than most organization percentages.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah. So if you wanna take it out, take it out, and as long as we're getting it at the audit committee.
Yeah, maybe it's
I'm
part of the
fine with
audit
it.
committee.
As long as we put it in to the charter of the audit committee or whatever, that's fine. All right. Cause, we're just making this work, that's fine. Okay, next one.
Article 7.
I'm not a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
The section on indemnification may be out of date, I recommend it be reviewed. So Article 7.
Okay, what do we say here?
Indemnification, yes, we do have the policy for officers and directors. Confer the benefits of the public officers, law opponents, directors, officers, shall be held liable for the constitution first. Yeah, we do indemnify, we do have policies for the officers and directors in place, and we indemnify in case there may be a lawsuit.
Okay.
Is that the right section of public officers law?
Yes, section 18 of the public officers law, yes, they have to, the authority has to indemnify the directors and officers if it's
Okay.
like in performance of their duties.
That's fine, because Morris's comment is that it might be out of date, but
Uh-huh.
we can- I just wanted to make sure that the reference was right.
Yep.
Yeah, if you could just check the reference, that'd be great. All right, I'm gonna move on, all right?
So no edits to that, we're good?
Nothing right now, Lotta's gonna check it.
Okay.
Article 8, Section 3.
Section 3.
Given all that's transpired recently, I'm sensitive to the burdens that the board places on staff time, which is already stretched thin. While I generally agree that the board members should have reasonable access to information, I have concerns that this line surpasses the standard of reasonableness, meet with and obtain any information it may require from authority to staff. Okay, take a look.
But is this a lot of some of the stuff that already in the charter and not in here?
I'm sorry, I was
Okay.
thinking,
Okay.
yes, there's supposed, yes, that the public entity shall provide for the defense of the employee in any civil action or proceeding, state or federal, arising out of any LS act or omission which occurred or allegedly occurred while the employee was acting within the scope of his public employment or duties.
That's section 18?
Yes, section 18 of
Okay, so we're good then.
But, wait, hold on a
I
second,
mean, we-
employee includes board members,
No,
Yes, so for these purposes, yes,
but
okay?
because there's, in some
Yeah,
laws, there are
identify.
different definitions.
So you wanna just refer to it, if it says, we can just leave
It
it,
says
right?
section 18 of the
We do.
public office.
Just leave it then, we're good,
Yep,
fine,
we're good.
all right.
Now, section 3.
Section 3, Governance Committee.
I think a lot of this stuff is what Lotta was talking about before, as being part of the charter,
Yeah, that's no part of the
that we
charter.
don't need
Maybe we just
in
don't
here,
need this.
but we maybe refer
So
to the
maybe
fact
we're
that
gonna
there's a charter.
We just need to look
Yeah.
at the
You wanna do
charter.
that, we can do that,
Yeah.
cause literally I just,
Took it from the charter.
yeah, I copy and pasted straight from the charter.
I said, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm okay, you can take it out, as long as it's included in,
The charter.
The charter.
yeah. So I just need to get the charter from you,
Yes, that's the resolution.
the committees, yeah, okay? So if you wanna take it out, you can take it out, I'm okay with that. Because I didn't know that a chart existed.
Yes, take it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we're gonna skip over to Article 10, is that right? Or
That would be good.
So hold on a second, what do we take out? What are we taking
Pretty
out?
much everything, it's just gonna say C.
So
all
do you
the-
wanna take out all the,
all the committee stuff, did you say?
So we need to keep certain language, but all these details,
All the
like A,
details,
B,
right.
C, this list, I think it better fits the charter
Yeah,
of the particular
Okay.
committee.
yeah.
so you wanna take out the purpose of the governance committee?
Yes.
Just take it out?
There is a statutory language in public authorities
Uh-huh.
law talking about standing and advisory committees. This should stay, this language, but all other, like, model, ABO model, that could go to the charters.
Right, so we just need
I
a
need to-
sentence that says to see specific duties or whatever, see charter, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. I'm good with that. Then I have to go look at the charter, if you could just send that to me, just, yeah, make a note to send that to me, right? And then we'll work on that the next, whatever. There's a lot of things to work on. All right, so it shall be the responsibility of, everything below, all that stuff in blue, we're taking out.
The purpose of the governance committee is to assist the board and, like, there's some, again, some provisions that should stay, but I need to compare what's in the public authorities law when we say that you must have the standing, committee audit, and
Well,
this
I mean,
language
it's
will
already,
stay.
it's already referred to,
Right,
such
Yeah.
as terms defined by section 2825 of the public
Exactly.
authorities law.
I think we took this right from the ABO, didn't we?
We
and
did.
then
Yeah, I
whatever
think we
was
copied and
in the
pasted.
blue, we can, I think it better fits the, respective charter for
Yeah.
every committee.
Yeah. Okay, so that'll come out and go in the charter.
I'm okay as long as the charter has it. Okay, so we'll do that.
I'll just make a note that Lotta to review the charter.
Okay.
All right.
And then we can take it out in the audit committee as well. Because I dropped and
Right.
pasted that from
Right.
the charter.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Make another note.
Audit,
Almost there, his notes.
Yeah, I don't know, or I don't think I've ever seen bylaws that didn't end with them saying these bylaws may be amended, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so hold on a second, section 3? No, that's governance, section 4 is paying, and article 10.
Right.
While I agree with these principles, they're unnecessary.
I don't think they're.
I think that's fine to keep
I
that.
think they're fine.
Keep it in.
Yeah.
Kind of
It's like-
boilerplate, aren't
Yeah,
they?
it is, yeah. Every bylaws, and I've worked on a lot of
Yeah.
bylaws, and they always end with these bylaws may be amended, blah, blah, blah.
It's- Yeah, that's,
Standard
that's,
boilerplate.
that's fine.
Yep.
All right, so here, done with smart. Stay. Okay, I'm gonna read this.
I think she had different pages, because I was trying to follow her, and when she
CFO
said page 8 or
seems
whatever,
to
it
be
doesn't.
listed to take on many
reference pages,
responsibilities,
but
we
we
also
can look
need
at
to
the
control.
others, yes.
She's in the elected officials, which we've discussed, right?
Okay, her first statement says, on the whole, the bylaws, board of directors are micromanaging doing the job of the CEO.
Noted.
Okay,
Noted, we just
I
chopped
think
a
we
bunch
just
of
helped,
things.
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
We just chopped a bunch of it off, so, okay. CFO seems to be listed to take on many responsibilities, we also need a controller.
We have a control, don't we?
We have a
Hopefully
deputy comptroller,
We have a
and,
deputy
and
controller.
we do not need a comptroller.
Okay.
And I think
Respectfully, that's my personal
opinion.
Then that's what carries the day. Mhm.
Then I will defer to you. Article 3, Section 1, strike the last line. Sorry. Strike the last line, add elected officials may send delegates to represent them. So we're back in Article 2.
Article 2,
Section
Section
1.
1.
Article 2, Section 1.
I think with the same section we already.
Strike
I
out
think
the
you
last
already
line, we already
said
talked about that.
consulting the.
Yeah, you're gonna, there's a
Right,
disagreement on
and
the
Lydia, I
interpretation.
did
and
send to
announcement.
you Jeff Perlman's email again, just so you have that.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, this is where we're into, Article 4, Section 1. Okay. Article 4,
All right,
Section
so it says
4.
these elected officials may send delegates to sit at the table in any committee or board meeting as a non-voting participant.
Yeah, so that's the same line
Yeah,
that,
That's the same line, yeah,
that
yeah.
Morris also
Yeah.
flags for us.
Yeah.
I have a comment for outside counsel to review,
Okay.
unless we want to just strike it.
Okay, then it says,
All right.
page 7, micromanaging.
Micromanaging.
Yeah,
Article,
it doesn't say anything, it just says micromanaging.
I think, did we discuss that already?
Oh, wait, Article
Article
4, Section 1.
yes, yes.
But what's with the page 7,
I
where she
think what
says
she's saying
micromanaging,
is
what's she referring to?
On page 7 is Article 4, Section 1.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
And
because
I
it's
think
on
we
my
spoke
page
about
too.
that,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, that's where I wasn't, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've already been
I
through
think
that.
we spoke about.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
CEO should be able to select all administrative staff.
Mhm.
Fine. Section 2, CEO shall remove administrative staff, all other staff are responsible
Yeah.
for each.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
what
That's
we already
done.
said.
Page 8, Section 4A, department heads shall be responsible for hiring and firing
I think that
of
was.
Yes.
employees. I think that's done, right? Is that done? Section 5, absence of CEO, general counsel, next deputy counsel performing duties of the, Section 5?
I don't know, did we look at that?
On
Oh,
vice
page
president,
nine,
it's
vice
on page
president.
9.
Oh, in the absence of
Mhm.
the
The
president.
Vice President of the corporate, happens
In the
order.
absence of the
Mhm.
the session, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Okay,
In the event of his or her inability to refuse to act, the board shall approve by majority vote a vice president / or general counsel to perform, general counsel is the vice president, so we can take
Correct.
that out. So a vice president, take out or general counsel, because the general counsel is a vice president.
Correct.
Does that make sense, Colin?
Where are you at?
I'm in
Section
section
five,
5,
page
where it
9.
says vice president.
I think the board shall approve by majority vote the vice president. It's not that, we already have vice president,
Mm-hmm.
and general counsel
No,
is
No,
one of
approve
us.
No,
which
no,
one is
no.
gonna be filling in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
approves them to
To
be.
fill in for the
Become
CEO.
CEO, like, yeah.
CEO
April
is the
CEO,
CEO.
yeah.
that's like the
Yeah.
current situation.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's you.
You and
Okay.
Mary
So
and.
take, does that make sense? You see?
Yeah, but why are we removing it?
I
Because
think
a general
Jay has a
counsel
question.
is the vice president, it's redundant.
Oh, we were just removing vice president.
We're removing
No,
general counsel.
currently, there's only one VP right now.
That's you,
Mm-hmm.
yep. We don't have to prove you because you're it.
No,
But
if
then
if
I
there's, no, I'm sorry, if it's acting president, that's still approval by the board.
Right, but it just says by majority vote, a vice president or general counsel. Well, general counsel is a vice president, so it
Yeah,
just
that's
needs
why
to
we
say
were
a vice
removing.
president to
Yeah.
perform the duties
Yeah.
of the president.
Mhm.
That's all, you just have to take out or general counsel.
All right, struck.
And I think it looks like for section 4A, Faye was pointing to the, CEO shall be responsible for discharge of executive and administrative functions prior to the corporation, including hiring and firing of employees other than officers.
Right, and shall
I think she's
supervise.
saying that it should be of all employees, including officers.
What?
Which, A, B, or C, where you at?
A,
A?
So you're saying that, what? Say that again, man.
The president, CEO shall be responsible for the discharge of the executive administrative functions and powers of the corporation, including hiring and firing of employees other than officers. I think she means that would be CEO responsibility.
Although we,
And I know there's.
and she's
there's
saying
board
it should be
approvals that-
department heads, not CEO. Is that what she's saying?
no, I think she's saying the reverse, that the CEO rather than department heads.
No, she
should
says
have that.
department heads shall be responsible for the
Oh,
hiring and
okay.
firing
Employees.
of employees.
Oh, so not just the CEO.
Not the president and CEO, the department head should do it, is what she's saying, I think.
And then other than officers, I don't know if that means for, because I mean,
Um,
it would have to go, officers have to go for board approval.
It's got to go for the board,
for
yeah.
appointment, and
Right.
So I don't know if she means for the, if the removal of an officer, and I know we just went over that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes before the board, I don't know if she means, which means that,
Okay,
I mean, it might need more
So I think
clarification.
for
yeah,
A,
she didn't
I
talk
don't,
about it, but she.
maybe I'm not seeing it, I don't see 4A as conflicting with what she's saying.
Yeah, I don't either.
Well, we're saying the president and the CEO shall be responsible, for the discharge of the executive administrative functions about including hiring and firing of employees other than officers.
Uh-huh.
She's saying the department head should be responsible for the hiring and firing
right.
of employees, not the CEO.
But in general,
But-
it's
But in
still,
general-
Yeah, it's
yeah,
still CEO, it's
under
still
president,
CEO,
it's, I
correct.
think
It's
it's
still under
delegation.
CEO.
It's a
Yeah.
delegation, the CEO delegation to the department head.
Yes.
Yeah, it's understood
Correct.
that HR
So
will be
that's-
doing this.
That's all
Yeah.
good.
Yes,
don't
I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's fine,
Yes,
just
yeah.
including,
Yes.
Uh-huh.
yeah, I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's redundant to say firing of employees other than officers, because it implies that some of the employees are officers.
Right.
So it should be
Well, I
including
think-
hiring and firing of employees. Without
No,
other
I remember where this came from, that we didn't want the president and CEO firing the general counsel. We wanted
Yeah,
that
remember
to
the
come to the
board,
board.
the board is doing that for
So
the
yeah,
Yes,
officers.
but
does
when we
everybody
say
else
like
accept?
firing of employees other than officers.
That's right, yeah.
Or
Officers
other
are-
officers
Yeah.
Other
Other than,
of
yeah.
employees.
So it's redundant.
Yeah.
No.
No.
No, I think
No,
I
you-
think Mary got what it.
No, it's
They
other
can-
than.
They can hire and fire any employee, but not
Besides
other than an
officer.
officer.
Correct.
It is
Officer.
also an
Yes.
employee,
Yeah,
but an
officer-
employee
Right,
that we,
yeah.
that
Also an
we,
But
the board
officers
appoints.
are not
Yeah.
employees.
Yeah,
Right.
officers are
Office-
employees.
Yeah.
No, vice president is an officer.
Yeah.
Yeah, all
Well,
officers
as
are
defined,
employees.
as defined here, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Because we defined officers as CFO, CEO, and.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're.
Right,
because
right.
they're
They're still
employees.
We're
employees.
saying that,
Employees,
right.
yeah.
They can
Because
hire
they're
and
saying-
fire employees other
Mhm.
than officers.
Right.
That's right.
Other than
That's right.
employees who are also officers, I think it's kind of
That the
implied.
board
I mean, I think
has
that's kind
review of the
Yeah.
officer.
Yeah.
Jamie Dimon is still an employee of the state.
That's
Yes,
right,
he
the
is.
board can.
God love him.
And the board has to
Yeah.
approve the salary,
That's
right?
correct.
Okay, next,
And he's
next
the
one,
one
get
Trump.
out of here.
Yeah.
The only one who
That's
knows what it is.
Treasurer, section 7, treasurer. Comptroller or controller serves as treasurer.
Oh, okay, section.
Shall we not? Do we not
We don't
want-
have a controller right now.
So we want to just say the CFO?
serves
I'm
as
so
treasurer.
sorry, even we don't have a controller, that's position that every other authority has.
Mhm.
Okay?
I don't think we should be removing it if maybe you feel.
No,
that
no,
we
we're
don't
not
need it.
removing
We're not.
it, we're not removing
And
it.
she's asking.
I'm just saying that, right now, it says CFO can serve as treasurer if there's no controller.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what it says in here.
that's fine.
And that's what Faye is asking too, I
Well,
think.
she's
I
actually
think
saying
she's
comptroller
saying
or
assign
controller.
it, yeah.
Right,
In
right.
Greg's case, it's COMPT, control.
Comptroller.
Comptroller.
I think we just leave
I've
that.
seen
I
it both
think
ways,
that's
but
right.
it's comptroller.
Okay, moving on.
Controller.
Moving on, last line signed by CFO and treasurer controller and countersigned.
Huh?
I don't know.
Oh, she's talking about section 3.
Article 5.
Yes,
It's on
the
page
treasurer-
11.
It's treasurer,
Says, in the absence of such such instrument shall be signed by the CFO and treasurer.
Oh, down
Okay.
here, yes, shall be signed by the CFO and treasurer and countersigned by the president of the corporation.
so
How
this
does
So
that
is,
work?
she's still regarding treasurer as controller, I think
Mhm.
that's
Oh,
what's
okay,
happening. Yeah,
okay.
but I think we're
I
okay.
think we're okay.
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 All right, so page 12, section 1, repetition, consensus of the board. So page 12, section 1, books and records.
Okay.
Corporation shall keep correct and complete books, records, and accounts, and shall also keep minutes of the proceedings of board of directors, and shall keep at the registered or principal office a record giving the names, addresses of the directors, all books and records of the corporation may be inspected by the New York State Department of Audit and Control. And she is saying,
I think we're on the wrong pages. I don't think I think our page 12 is not the same as her. hers, because there's no repetition of this, and where does it say consensus of
You
the
know
board?
what? Yes, it's true, because we
Yeah.
have two versions of
Right,
bylaws.
she's looking at a different page 12.
Yes. The page 12 that I'm looking at is probably that's the 2010 versus 2024.
Okay.
Okay,
So I'm
so
looking,
which-
so this is page 12 of
Okay.
2024. If we want to
Yes, I think
take a guess as to where we're talking about.
page
It's
12.
section 1.
So it's the end of Article 5 and the beginning of Article 6.
Yes, but there is a reference, let's not look at the pages, let's look at the article. Article 5, last,
Line.
No,
That-
we already
we're
did
past
that.
that,
We're
now
past
we're on
that.
what she's calling page
That's
12.
where
We're on page 12.
Section 1.
Yeah.
And page 12, section 1 here was books and things, and she's not talking about that. She's talking about.
Section 1 is
Was that
repetition.
from the old bylaws? Section
Approval
one?
of activities, is that what you think she's doing?
Section
No,
1.
that's page 12, the bar.
Article 5, last line. Oh, so it's section 3, no?
yeah, this last line, it says, instrument shall be signed by chief financial officer and treasurer and countersigned by the president of the corporation.
Is that how
Yeah,
it
no,
works?
we're past that one.
Yeah, we're past that.
We're looking at the
going
next one
section-
that she's calling
page
page
12.
12.
We
But
don't
yours
know where she
seems
is.
to be the same as what we have
the
on page
next
12, and I
section
can't
one.
imagine she's talking
Section
about.
It's books
one,
and records,
Yeah.
unless she
Because
needs
consent-
indemnification.
Books and records where she talks about.
Section 1, repetition, consensus of the board.
It's either section 1, books and
Yeah.
records, or section 1, indemnification, defense and indemnification.
Maybe she's saying what Morris said, where it's not necessary to put in.
Okay, let's go with that.
I don't
Let's go
know.
with that.
We'll have to.
Ask her
we'll have
for
to ask her.
clarification.
We'll have to-
Oh, wait a second. If we look at page 13, under section 1,
It's last 6 lines.
standing and advisory
Driven by the
committees.
personal People's
Oh.
Governance Committee
Yeah.
chairperson, section 1.
Purposes of these committees are to be specified in their documents. Standing and advisory committees shall serve at the pleasure of the board. At least one member of the board shall be appointed. However, the nomination must be confirmed by a consensus of the board members to ensure consideration of all board members.
Okay.
That's where she's saying driven by the
Where are
personal
you?
opinion. Page 13,
Okay.
under
Yeah,
section
from this
1.
place, however,
the very
nominations
first thing.
might be conferred, yeah.
That's where, because by the personal opinion of the governance committee chairperson, because you were saying that they didn't take into consideration which board you wanted to be on, which committee you wanted to be on.
Well, that was her experience.
Absolutely, when she's
Yeah.
saying right here, driven by the personal
Oh.
opinion of the
Oh,
governance committee,
okay.
so I think that's the line she's talking
yes,
about.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is where we're at, on page 13.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you,
section 1, page
Margie.
13.
And it looks like rules and regulations were already taken out on the copy I'm looking at, which may what she was referring to. It's redundant. Okay, so section 3.
Other advice that the committee deems necessary
Yeah.
should not be outside, it's that's us kids.
Information they shouldn't.
Example, the two advisors heard information they shouldn't. Eliminate.
Here. It's open meetings law, we heard nothing
We-
beyond what's in the open meeting
Exactly,
now.
if we
I
would
mean,
have
I
been
don't
here listening
quite
anyway.
understand.
Wait, what, hold on.
I
what
mean,
did you
Faith
just-
makes the point, and of course, we should not have, information that's privy to the executive board,
Right.
but she says that the two advisors, that's me and Margie, heard information they shouldn't, but we've only
We're
been
in
at
open
open
meetings.
meetings, so I don't quite understand.
Televised.
I
We
would,
haven't attended
I
one meeting
would-
that wasn't public.
I would respectfully disagree with her,
Yeah.
because we've only been at open meetings.
Right.
So there was no,
Okay, so,
A through F repeated.
so if that was her
That was her
concern
concern.
about section 3D,
3F.
we're not hearing anything, because when
Yeah.
committee meetings are all
Open
open meetings, and
Right.
anything discussed here, I could watch
Right.
online as a member of the public. There's
There
nothing
guys-
here
there-
that was private.
Trees there looking at us.
Right.
Are you in Article 8?
We're
I'm doing what
article-
Margie told me to look.
We're looking at, Article 8, yeah,
So Article 8, Section 3,
section
Section
3.
3.
sub Part D, lowercase d, is that what we're looking at?
Okay.
Yeah, and we just struck it all. We just
Yeah,
struck it all
so,
out.
The
yeah, all-
charter is
It's
gonna
not
be
taken all out,
right,
it's all
right,
in the
right.
charter.
The charter.
well, yeah, a lot is gonna compared to the charter, so
Yeah.
everything that says, so say 3D, 3F, and 3G,
Yeah, well,
We're
she's
gonna-
saying the same thing about all the
What
committees.
is the question that I'm supposed to ask, Jay? I'm sorry.
I think we found it, I don't think we have a question.
I think it
anymore.
was that repetition, the consensus of the board, that page 12, section 1, repetition.
So I'm supposed to ask about page 12.
And the A through F is the whole idea of committee members not being
Right.
board members.
Right.
And I would say in
Yeah.
response that, we're only here at open meetings, there's
Right.
nothing,
Yeah.
it's not public.
Okay. All right, so we take it out, page 15, section 2, supremacy of law.
I think that's,
Yeah, we kind of decided.
No, that's actually,
that's
that's
Article
17.
10, Article 10,
Yeah.
Section
Article 10,
2.
right, section 2, supremacy.
Okay. We're just gonna leave it and let outside counsel figure it out, okay?
Okay.
All right, that's done.
Let me make this up.
I know, we have.
Now we have David.
Now we have David.
David's gone, so he can't clarify.
Let's do that.
Okay, first is grammatical, fine, we'll do that one.
Okay, David Crowe, notes on bylaws, Article 4, Section 3, second sentence.
Yeah, we changed A to C.
The chairperson shall take a lead in the board's oversight. Should be the lead,
Okay, take a look here in this section, please. The lead.
Article 4, officers. Section 3.
Chairperson, it's the chairperson section. The chairperson shall preside at the meetings of the directors, in
Oh,
addition,
so
the
it's-
chairperson shall take the lead.
I had that as section 4. Oh, okay. It's section 3, okay.
Okay,
Oh, right, because the
Yeah.
numbers changed.
Right.
okay, it's the
okay,
lead.
chairperson shall, where,
Right at the meetings, blah,
So
blah, blah.
it's the instead of the.
shall take the lead,
Chairperson shall take the lead.
Take the lead, yes.
Okay.
the lead.
All right, wait, let me scroll back up. Article 4, Section 3. Sorry, I was
Chairperson.
just making a note.
Okay, Article section 8, section 1.
The chair of the committee shall possess.
Article 4.
And you,
This is
you want
just
it
kind
to
of
be
an
the,
opinion.
is that okay with everybody?
Yes,
Sure.
Done. Okay, Article 8, Section 1.
No, but then
No,
he's saying,
what?
are we implying that this lead should be shared with someone besides the chair? And
No,
so
if we leave A,
Okay.
then
Yeah,
it's like,
so
if it's
we're not
D,
implying it.
that's
We didn't
only
even-
chairperson.
Okay,
Okay.
Article
8, section 1, that's
Section 1.
committees, that's
Yeah.
standing and advisory committees.
Oh, I think
Chair
the
shall
committees,
possess necessary skills to understand the duties and functions. Committees can be composed only of board members, but the chair of the committee can
wait,
invite
we're
non,
controversial, Marcia.
We are, I
can invite
know.
non-voting experts, do not count towards committee forum at the discretion of the committee chair. First sentence is impracticable. At any future point in time, there might be no current board members possessing those skills, but the committee function and the chair function must be fulfilled regardless. For example, there might be no current board members with direct operational experience or no director who has ever been responsible for developing any real estate, or who has ever practiced as an auditor, or who has ever been responsible for governing anything. But all these chairs must be filled all the same.
Okay?
Okay, so my thing, possess necessary skills to understand the duties is not the same as having the experience.
Right.
And this is requirement for public authorities law, for standing committees, for audit and for governance. That's the language for public
That's
authorities.
the language they use.
So we
Yeah, I think
have
that
to
language
keep
is
it.
fine.
We have to keep
You have
it.
the
Yeah, the
necessary
first
skills to understand it. Yeah,
So
it doesn't say you must have done
Sorry.
it before.
this is language of public authorities law.
And interestingly, he says the second sentence is unnecessary, though obviously it's controversial.
Yes.
Any committee is not permitted but should be encouraged to enlist whatever outside experience or expertise or simple knowledge is required to help the committee perform its function. There's no expectation of quorum membership, nor does it matter where they sit. I agree.
Yep.
Done. Okay, article,
You agree with what?
what he just said.
So he says it's unnecessary, but it.
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah, it can be unnecessary, but
But you
Leave
need
it
it
there,
there, and
yeah.
it's controversial, it's something you're having the outside council look at, right?
yeah, let also council decide.
Right.
But I agree that it,
Yes.
that is, and if it's necessary or unnecessary, we'll let council decide. Okay? Unless you have an issue with the comment. Do you have an issue with that?
I mean, the necessary skills to understand the duties and functions. Maybe there's another way to word that.
But
That's
part of the law.
That's the language of the
Yeah.
law.
The
We have,
language pulled from the statute?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1 second, I'll find it.
I think that's the ABO.
yeah, we pulled it.
Okay, well,
So where did you pull, what are you looking at?
The chair of the committee shall
Shall
possess the
possess
necessary skills to understand the duties and functions.
Yeah, that's for standing committee, yeah, that's specifically in connection with audit committee and governance committee.
And governance committee, exactly what it says, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and so if that's the exact wording in the statute, I don't have it in front of me, but if that's what it is, then that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, Article 8,
Section.
Section
3,
3, Paragraph 3.
Paragraph 3. It refers to the independent members, and you haven't defined it, but that's kind of, independent is used all over this place.
Okay, so I got two different definitions for independent.
There's only one, in section 28, 25
So
of
what
the
is
Public
it?
Authorities Law.
What is it?
Yes, I also forwarded the entire section of the Public Authorities Law and the Authorities Budget Policy Guidance requires that except for members who serve as members by virtue of holding a civil office of the state, the majority of the remaining members of the governing body of every state or local authority shall be independent members. And then they explain, the board member is not currently an employee of the public authority in an executive position, nor was an employee of the public authority in an executive position in the past 2 years. So all board members are independent members. You were not employed by RIAC in the past. You don't have a relative or executive officer or employee in executive position as RIAC, right? You did not receive you were not in the previous 2 years employed by an entity that received a payment value at more than $15,000 for goods and services provided to the public authority. So there's entire,
Okay.
yeah, I think I printed out.
All right, thank you very much. That was one definition, and the other definition that I heard from Gerald was that I'm independent because the mayor nominated me, but the rest of you are not independent because the governor nominated.
No, I think maybe it's some different content.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I see, I've got it, I've seen it
Okay.
before, you can.
So-
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Thank you. All right, then, so shall we, refer to,
Yes,
This-
it is, just
Yeah.
for clarity.
why don't we refer to it for clarity
Article 8.
as defined in this?
I think it says
Conway?
that it's in,
Yeah, we'll just pull up the statute. Yeah.
Okay, so can we just refer to it?
I think it's.
Well, we do.
We do refer this.
Yeah,
Section 2825?
Yeah, 2025.
Article
It
8,
says that right
section
here in
3.
number 1.
Okay, it's done,
Mhm.
done, okay, fine. All right, so paragraph G.
Yes, it has, section,
Yeah,
it's
if you go
independent,
below,
its such term is
it's on
defined in section 2825 of the Public Authorities Law.
Done. All right, so it's section 25, Public Authorities Law.
And this whole thing is getting referred to as charters anyway.
And then subparagraph G,
Mm-hmm.
delete the rest of this section.
So is it a corporation expense?
It says, in the first place, no committee of the board should ever be independently soliciting contracts. Second, what does the word miscellaneous refer to? Third, the rest of the section is essentially a rehash of what has gone before.
Is this something is that part of the charter now?
That's all going
anyway?
to the.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's from ABO's, like.
Yeah, right,
model
right,
policy.
right, so
Yeah.
we're gonna look
I
at the
think we
charter
can-
and take any
So
of
the
that
entire
stuff
thing
out.
is gone.
That's right, it was gone.
All right, we're done.
We're done.
Good job, ladies.
Okay, so the question I have, right? If we're going to send this to outside counsel, do we have to wait 3 to 6 months to get this done?
No, no.
Mm-mm.
Shouldn't there be a
They
junior partner?
They can, they
Look
can,
at this.
they can get to it, I'm sure.
Yeah, because we originally were talking about like reviewing all the documents and everything, but it's only this document, which is
Mhm.
Does it first go to the board or to outside counsel? Like,
outside counsel needs to verify this first, and then it goes to the board.
okay, but now
need to-
we're clear that the board is comfortable with it
So
by and large.
should we send
Because
the version that we have to the board first?
we don't want to go back and forth and back.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think back and forth is crazy.
Yeah, say to the
So
board.
should we just send
Sort of did.
what you already have?
You kind of did.
You kind of did,
people for
right?
comments.
Unless you ignored the comments, but we pretty much incorporated all the
We
comments.
incorporated all the comments.
Yes.
But should we send this latest version to the board and say we incorporated all the comments? And then, except I'll email everybody the ones that we didn't, like the ones that we didn't for whatever, for Faye and for, I don't know that I have complete notes on everything. But we did go through everything. They
Yes,
can-
we did,
We did.
yes.
They can listen to the recording and see which
Yeah.
ones we incorporated and which ones we didn't, and why we incorporated them and why we did not incorporate them. So should we send it to the board?
Yes,
So
yeah.
we'll send it to the board. Conway, can you send it to the board?
Mhm.
All right, so you can do that. Thank you very much. Because you have the latest version. Thank you very much. And then the next step after that is sending it to outside counsel, right? So at the board meeting, what I would like to do is I would like to get a general consensus that this is what we want to say, and then we'll send it to outside counsel.
You want an agreement in principle.
You can't even do that. All right, so then, the next
Good
step
one.
for sending it to outside counsel, what are they, Lada and Drew?
We need to retain outside counsel.
We need to retain outside
So
counsel.
Well, we already got them, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it Carter?
That's
Yeah.
my,
It's in the.
Yeah.
We already got Carter for that, right?
Yeah, but there's a conflict of interest with the investigation, but once, you know, that's resolved, then.
But that could be
That could take.
ongoing, right?
Fine.
so,
might
we
want
will
to-
find out, hopefully.
The bylaws and-
So, okay, so,
Maybe
should
that
there
Chinese wall thing
remain,
again.
That's what we've been told.
so, contingency plan. Should we remain in conflict with CLM? What's our contingency plan? Do we go look for another?
I mean,
We will,
So,
I
I think, I don't,
maybe after this board meeting, let's figure out what the timing is on this.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I was gonna say, I
Megan?
think we should wait to make a contingency plan until after the board meeting on Tuesday.
okay.
so what, do you want to bring it, Megan and Lydia, do you want to bring it as a board item? Or you can just mention in your committee report
I
that
will
we have a
mention-
committee and we considered your comments, and the next step, we will be sending this to outside counsel, because the agreement in principle again, we agree, it's like, you know, because we use it in real life.
So
The
Conway-
board said it
Yeah.
last time, that we need to bring it, send it to outside counsel, so once we have outside counsels, the board members, maybe someone else wants to add something else, but I think,
Okay, so,
it's not item for voting, but
all right,
for further steps, maybe you can just report this as a part of your,
Okay,
I don't know, whatever.
so that's what I'll do. In the board meeting, under my committee report, I will say that we went through everybody's feedback. We incorporated as much as we could based on what we could, based on legal counsel, et cetera, our internal legal counsel. And, you all received it. Did you send it out yet?
I'm sending it right now.
Okay. You've all received it from Conway as soon as we, as soon as we get through it. All right, so hopefully you will have seen it and you'll be either happy with it or unhappy with it, but this is our best product. And if you have any major issues with it, we'll have to vote on it, okay? So, and then we are in the process of trying to figure out how to get outside counsel to review it. And that's it. We're done?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not adding it as a separate item, it will be part of your committee report.
It will be part of my committee report. So, just to make sure that I made it through everything, we went through the view, it is now 8:26. Really?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
That's
Okay,
fun.
we have no other, community concerns, do we? Do we?
And then-
Any other committee business?
There you go. Okay, so, I move that we adjourn the meeting. All in
Okay, vote by
favor?
vote.
Not voting.
Aye?
We could vote to adjourn.
Yeah, okay, so here, the meeting, committee meeting of the governance committee is hereby adjourned at 8:26 p.m. Thank you so much for staying. Thank you so much for all your work and your contributions.
Thank you.
I so
Thank you.
appreciate everything.
Thank you.
It's done.
Conway,
We got
thank you.
something
Yeah,
really
thank you.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you, Conway, for emailing everything.
I'm about to,